is on the air on this warming it up Tuesday, snow melting Tuesday. Looking forward to today. Although I got to be honest, I was dragging ass getting out of, maybe it was just kind of the residual from the travels or something. Yesterday, all fired up. There's a lot going on. I was, coming out of the Super Bowl. I was energized. I was anticipating the show yesterday. Today was a get out of bed day where you're just dragging. Today was just that dragging day. I kind of thought to myself, might be a little residual left over from our trips and our travels and tribulations and trials out there in San Francisco. So good to be back, though. Good to be on. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to find us? Do it. We would love to hear from you. Hell yeah. We would love to hear from you. If you want to chime in, we would appreciate that. Also, you can call us 608-321-1670, 608-321-1670. And you can also track us down via YouTube. Go to youtube.com. That is youtube.com. And see for yourself what we have to offer. That is youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. You can also find us on Twitter on X at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. You can find Grant at Wisco Grant. You can also find us via Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And that's been growing. We appreciate you over there. Man, for everybody over there. You know what? People are asking me what's going on with the stream today. I don't know. Everything, they've been changing things on the stream. So I don't know what it is they've been doing to it. But whatever they're doing, it's been different. That I'll say. So today's a little weird. Today you guys are all tiny and just kind of, like just small letters and everything. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know why they do it, but they keep messing with it. And that's okay, because if they're making it better, they're making it better. But today, not so much. Not so much. Then what else do we want to do? You've got, you can find us over there on Twitch, Kick, LinkedIn apps. All those apps. Our app, by the way, which is Wisco Sports Zone. Wisco, Wisco, Wisco Sports Zone. Find us there. Yep, find us there. Also, you can find us via email. Email the program, thebillmichaels@gmail.com, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. Also, there is the website, which is simply thebillmichaels.com, thebillmichaels.com. And you can also track us down in many different facets over there on My24 TV. My24 TV has been great. We've been over a year now. And that's the best part about it, is that you've been paying attention and watching and all that kind of good stuff for over a year over there. And it's really, really, really been great. And we appreciate you paying attention to us there. I got a little bit of a cold today. So for those who just saw me wipe my nose on camera, I had to, because I'm like, uh-oh. Not to mention last night, I get back into Wisconsin. And I love Wisconsin. Just the dry air, man. I woke up last night you wake up in the middle of the night, you're like, oh man, my nose is runny. And then you wipe your face and you're like, oh my God, I look like I murdered somebody because your nose is bleeding. Dry air, man, killing me. So I'm using the Aquaphor in my nose and the Vaseline in my nose and all that different stuff. So I don't want to get too gross. But yeah, I woke up last night, had a hell of a nosebleed last night too. So all of that being said, today, the dust has settled on the Caleb Durbin trade. So I want to get into that a little bit more. And in addition to that, I mentioned this yesterday, and I didn't go too deep into it, but I do want to discuss it because today when I woke up, I was flipping channels and I was listening to some Sirius XM this morning. I listened to our buddy Solomon Wilcots, and you start to look at the defenses. It was get somebody out of the Shanahan tree, get somebody out of the McVay tree, bring in guys like Ben Johnson, Matt LaFleur, Mike LaFleur. Go after the young up-and-comers, the offensive guys, the guys that can call plays. Look at all these different guys that can make these offenses go in very much an offensive game, because the rules have been skewed so far in the NFL to the offensive side of the football, it's almost impossible to play defense until you can play defense. And we saw last year what Vic Fangio did with the front four in Philadelphia against the Kansas City Chiefs. You saw what the Kansas City Chiefs did about 6 years ago with Chris Jones and their front four and what they were able to do and dominate in the postseason. You saw what Seattle did this season. You saw what Denver did this season. You saw different teams that had top-rated defenses get off on it. So my question then becomes, are we seeing a legitimate shift in the National Football League to defenses now? And if that's the case, and we talked a little bit about it, how far away or not are the Green Bay Packers to being in that upper echelon defense. Now, if Devontae Wyatt doesn't get hurt, if Micah Parsons doesn't get hurt, then we're probably talking about a little bit different season, maybe a different outcome. Who knows? But when you see 4 guys rushing and you really don't need a lot of help, but what they'll do is they'll bring pressure just to mess with the quarterback's head. It's kind of a luxury. Yeah, we're going to get into that today as well. We got Mike Renner from CBS Sports going to be joining us today. Stan Van Gundy is going to be here today. Stan Van Gundy's going to join us. Stan was a friend of Howard Moore's, and we know the Howard Moore documentary is coming out. We want to talk to Stan a little bit about that. We'll talk to him. Oddly enough, the timing is impeccable because last night, if you saw it, the bench is cleared. The Pistons and the Hornets, they got after it last night. They got after it. And we're going to talk to Stan a little bit about that. I know Doc had said he would have loved to have seen some more fight in his team. Not physically, but you get the point. So we're going to get into all of that because that was it wasn't necessarily a malice at the palace, but it involved the Pistons. And the Pistons are a team that's brought back the bad boy mentality. And on one hand, you give credit to the Charlotte Hornets for not taking a crap. But on the other hand, the Pistons are a good team because they play so physically, and they will not be denied. They might be the best team in the East right now, as a matter of fact. So we'll get into that discussion a little bit. And obviously, Jim Owczarski makes his Tuesday visit. So we'll talk with him now that the dust has settled on the trade deadline. Giannis is still a Milwaukee Buck. All the people that are saying he should have been out of here, we're saying, nope, told you so. All that kind of good stuff. So we got a lot to draw on today. Grant Bills, how the hell you doing today, man? What's going on?
Not much going on today. I'm getting caught up on sleep from, I think, the weekend and from last week. I watched curling last night.
I did too. Did you see the Americans won in the mixed curling doubles or whatever you call it?
I just honestly, none of it really landed in my brain. I just thought, well, I got to have something on, and I'm a patriot and I want to support my country.
Right.
So I didn't really know anything that was going on or notice anything. I picked something and threw it on.
All right, I can live with that.
Does that make me a bad? It makes me a bad sports watcher. I'm sure.
No, actually, it's pretty much what I did last night.
Sure.
So I completely get it. I sat down and it was weird because I had a lot of work to do and I didn't do any of it. I didn't do a damn thing. I went to the grocery store. I came home and I bought meals. I bought things that I can, that are healthy because we ate so terribly. That I can cook and everything. So I sat down. I made my meal. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to sit here a little bit. And I got into a couple of conversations on the phone, and I turned on the Olympics and I was watching curling. Then they had the women's ice hockey. They had downhill skiing. I was watching the ice skating. I was watching a little bit of, and all of a sudden it was like 8:30, 9 o'clock. And I'm like, I'm a little tired. So I thought, well, get a shower, go up, lay in bed, watch it a little bit. And then maybe you're just going to doze off, get a good night's sleep and come back at it today. And I fell asleep right away, got up with the nosebleed at about 4:30 this morning, was up for a while, and then finally fell back asleep for about an hour, and then thought, oh, got to get out of bed. So anyway, that was my day. But hey, now I want to stop for a second. Did I hear correctly? Kate was in a car crash?
Kate was in a car crash. Kate, how long ago was that? Just yell. How long ago?
It was before we went to the Super Bowl.
Before we went to the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't sound like a crash. It just sounded like she was driving too fast on the snow and she ran into.
It was a crash.
Okay, it was a crash. She's correcting me. She was in a crash. Yes. Is there anything else you would like to know?
No. I thought it was since we got back, and I was like, oh my God, because I just saw her and everything, so. Just wanted to make sure she was okay because I caught the tail end of that. I was running around the house and the speakers were on in the studio, and I'm like, wait, what? And I came running upstairs to kind of listen to the rest of the story, and I didn't hear the rest of the story. So I
think it was more. She was more sharing the excuse as to why her car was such a homeless encampment. That's what Ebo was talking about. Yeah.
Well, now, car crash and a homeless encampment. That's two different things. That's two different stories.
I would agree.
Okay, because we've all seen. Kate on the go. I'm going to call it Kate on the go. I'm not going to call the mess. I'm going to call Kate on the go. Kate's busy. She's moving and grooving, man. She's meeting people. She's going to concerts. She's going out. She's doing social media, all that kind of good stuff. So she's on the go. So she doesn't have time to clean up. I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. I'm being very kind here.
You don't tell. She doesn't need this.
Okay. I'm being very kind here.
You are.
Because on one side of the house it was relatively well kept. On another side of the house, some sort of natural disaster happened. I don't know what it was. I think there was a tsunami that came off of the Pacific coast and only got half our house. We'll leave it at that. There you go. Which, by the way, I got to hook up with you guys because I got your stuff and you got mine. So,
yeah, I have Mike Clemens business cards and you have my white noise machine, and I'm struggling over here without it.
I got the white noise machine, and Kate's got my our big selfie stick and everything. So we gotta switch all that stuff out of it.
She was using it to create content in the building this morning. Could you?
Was she really?
It? Yeah,
that's awesome. Did she ever get the video done of the Waymo?
She's working on it right now.
Okay,
so it'll be up.
This better be great for as long as it's taken.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, I'm looking forward to that too.
Should Docker pay?
So anyway, that's where we're at today. The Caleb Durbin deal. You know, now that has settled, there's more and more people that are of national ilk. Okay, they give a lot of credit to Boston for getting the deal done, and rightfully so. But they're also saying, look, the Brewers came up with some good stuff here. So I'm not necessarily, like people yesterday were going crazy. And when Caleb Durbin goes from the Brewers to the Red Sox, like they gave up, some kind of, major all-star. But everybody, I mean, Boston gets Andrew Monasterio, utility man Anthony Siegler. They get a competitive balanced B-round draft pick. David Hamilton, the lefty. Shane Drohan comes to Milwaukee as well. Or David Hamilton, the infielder, and the lefty Shane Drohan comes to Milwaukee as well. But they were talking about Boston discussed acquiring Isaac Paredes from Houston over the, 24, 48 hours prior to that. And they were thinking going in that direction. Instead, they ended up getting what they wanted. In the meantime, the Brewers got a depth in the rotation. When you heard Matt Arnold explain it, a depth in the rotation, a lefty arm, some things that they were looking for. And they believe that they can bring him into whatever that top secret, pitching lab is that's been so successful for them over the last, 5-10 years when it comes to just kind of recreating guys and what they've been able to find. So, and Henderson coming into camp, looking to lock down the possible rotation spot with the Brewers, with Brandon Woodruff, Jacob Mizorowski, Quinn Priester, who was successful in the trade last year. There's Chad Patrick, Logan Henderson, Robert Gasser. They've got all those guys. Brandon Sproat is going to be there. They're all going to be competing for the openings. And it also included, don't forget, when they picked up Sproat, they got Jet Williams, a candidate to take over at the infield spot over at third base, possibly. The Brewers have a shortstop prospect in Cooper Pratt. So there's a lot of ways they can go. And there was no specifics given out yesterday by Matt Arnold to say this is definitely what we're going to do. But it seems like the pool is at least deep for them to go in a particular direction. Like both teams kind of made out in this. And that's what I'm getting nationally. Jeff Passan was saying that. John Heyman was saying that. So the baseball writers nationally are going, this is not a bad deal for either team. And some of the best trades that are done are the ones that work out for everybody. So for those that were just going crazy over this yesterday in a negative way, it's like, wait till this thing plays out, because it doesn't, at least nationally, seem to be as negative as many people are making it out to be. So I'm happy about that. So anyway, I do want to get into the shift is on in the NFL, and are the Packers ready to compete in that genre? That is defensive side of the football. We've seen two Super Bowl teams in back-to-back years dominate defensively and get a win. Are the Packers even in that realm as of right now? Stay tuned. This portion of the program brought to you by our good friends over there at Sobelman's Pub and Grill. They've been in Milwaukee 25 plus years. They've been there. They're on St. Paul Avenue in Milwaukee. As a matter of fact, then they've got the new location that's been there a few years. That's in Waukesha on William Street. Stopping at Sobelman's for the big brioche burgers, the Bloody Mary that's got a whole meal inside it, which they're so famous for. Whatever it happens to be, or maybe just stop in and get some good, wholesome, just local flavors, so to speak. That is our friends at Sobelman's. Sobelman's Pub and Grill. We should catch up at Sobelman's.
Meet at Sobelman's.
Milwaukee and Waukesha.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
One of the reasons that Drake May has had so much trouble finding somebody open down the field is they can't block the guys in a four-man rush. And if you can't do that, you have almost no chance to win a game. This is, I know people are going to say not enough offense, all that kind of stuff. This has been one of the most brilliant performances I have ever seen in the National Football League.
Chris Collinsworth on the call on Sunday night, Super Bowl. And going back to last year, I mean, what Vic Fangio's defense did to Patrick Mahomes and beat the hell out of him. It was 2.0 this past Sunday as the Seattle Seahawks did the same thing to Drake May. Now, Drake May, I thought the entire postseason held onto the ball way too long and put the ball in harm's way, way too often. And we talked about that when we were on Radio Row in the media center all week, last week, leading up to the contest. And I said, look, he's going to have to get rid of the ball. He's going to have to play clean. He's going to have to play almost a perfect game to get a win. And he did none of that. And Drake May, that for him, that was a considerable learning opportunity that was just kind of a miserable failure, so to speak. But give all the credit in the world to the Seattle Seahawks because their defense just flat out got after it. And they knew what they wanted to do. They said, look, until he beats us, we're going to do this. And that's exactly what they did. They imposed their will. Tonight, last night, I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I went out and I got some meals. I got a little bit of a 7-inch cousin sub. I had a turkey sub with the grain bread. And one of the meals that I went and got last night was I got some ribs on a stick. And I'm probably going to grill those up tonight. It's going to be a little bit warmer outside even today. So I'm going to fire up the grill tonight. And they get some Robert's Specialty Meats on the grill. The ribs on a stick, fantastic. Robert's Specialty Meats, Waukesha.com, whether it's ribs on a stick, Al Capone roast, Al Capone sausages, brats, handmade sausages of all kinds. Hot Italians, spicy Italians, Hungarians, they've got everything. Plus pre-made burgers. They've got the garlic parm chicken skewers. Am I making your mouth water? They've got Wagyu beef steaks. They got big old New York strips. They got big old steak cut chops. I mean, I can go on and on. They just got so much good down there at Robert's Specialty Meats in Waukesha on Sunset Drive in Waukesha. Stop in and tell Paul and the whole staff we sent you. And I didn't even realize, but they had Alaskan king crab legs that were the best I've ever had. And I kid you not, the best. I mean, we had some seafood out on the West Coast. When I go with Kristen over to Rhode Island, they have cold water lobsters and stuff. But the Alaskan king crab legs, that's best I ever had, and made those at home. Better than any restaurant I've ever been in. So that they have those as well. So if you're looking for that, they're not cheap, but they have those as well. They've got a little bit of everything over there. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. I want to hear from you. But defensive the emphasis seems to be there, defensively speaking, when it comes to the NFL. Now, we always know the old adage is defense wins you championships, right? Well, when you go over the last, I don't know how many years of Super Bowl winners, but it has been the quarterbacks and the offenses really that have received the most acclaim, right? But it's been the defenses as of late that have been there. Seattle defensively, Philadelphia defensively. Now, remember, Kansas City, they ended up going to overtime with San Francisco. Both defenses played well, but not great. It wasn't a dominating performance. Remember, last year, Philadelphia won 40-22, and the 22, it was meaningless. It was a couple of big plays late in the ball game that gave them even that close of a score because it wasn't even a game. Same thing with New England. They got a couple of scores late, but it wasn't even a game. Prior to that, you had the 38-35 Kansas City Chiefs win over Philadelphia. Remember, you had a better defensive battle between Cincinnati and the Rams. The Rams just had a good defense with Von Miller and Aaron Darnold and company. That game was a little more defensively, but then it was Tampa Bay. Remember, Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, 31-9. The offense, 31-20, Kansas City over San Francisco. The last time we really had a low-scoring contest that was a really defensive, titanic struggle was go back to 2019 out of the 2018 season when the Patriots, it was 13-3 over the Rams. 13-3. Before that, 41-33, 34-28. Then you go back to the Broncos when they ended up knocking off the Carolina Panthers with that defense with Peyton Manning, remember, when they had that defensive shift, 24-10. Before that, New England, 28-24 over Seattle, 43-8 Seattle, and that Legion of Boom, they just stymied the Denver Broncos. They beat the hell out of them. But you got to have that level of defense if you're really going to have any kind of a dominating chance and or performance. So it's been more about the offenses, but it's been defenses over the years that you kind of pay attention to. But two defenses in back-to-back years now have come up big. And they really, all they asked the quarterbacks to do, even Jalen Hurts. Remember, when Philadelphia won last year, Jalen Hurts didn't have to play big. They just needed to make sure Saquon Barkley was involved and let that defense eat. And that's exactly what they did. Are the Packers there? 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Are the Packers even there? And I think it's a legitimate question. When you start to look at the defensive people, the personnel that they have, are they close? Are they close? Are they close to being that team? When you look at the defensive front that Seattle put up, I mean, you got to pay attention to what they did, right? You got to look at guys like Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, DeMarcus Lawrence, Jerron Reed. Those guys, they ate, man. They ate. Byron Murphy starts it all right in the middle. I mean, your nose tackle on that 3-4, that dude ate. They were able to put pressure on Drake May, and they were able to get pressure all season long. But they were able to get pressure on Drake May often in the middle. And the stunting that they did between him and Leonard Williams, leaving holes open in which you brought guys like Devin Witherspoon to exploit those holes. It was a great performance. But when you look at it, you go, okay, are the Packers there? The offense gets all the attention, but it's defenses that are winning games. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. Give us a shot.
Do you think a perfectly healthy Packers defense this year would have been capable of playing that fast and hitting that hard? Well, the first 2 weeks they did. That's why
the first 2 weeks they did. Yeah.
Is we hear Micah was that force multiplier.
Right.
So if they just have those two guys up front, does that make everybody else better to the point where that's actually a championship level defense?
No. And the reason why is because we saw a team like Dallas say, okay, we know how to do this. And they got rid of the ball quick.
Teams started to dink and dunk.
Yep. Teams started to just basically say, hey, let's get quick outs. They're not capable of playing man press at the line of scrimmage. They're not going to smash us in the mouth. They're going to play that soft zone, and they'll die death by 1,000 cuts. That'll take Micah and Rashawn and Van Ness and Devontae White. It'll take them out of the game. We'll just dink and dunk our way down the field, and we'll just eat up yardage. And then if they back off, then we'll go over the top on them because because their safeties and their secondary, more so the secondary than it is the safeties, but they just weren't. They didn't cover well. You had liabilities back there. Keyshawn Nixon was good. He wasn't great. You had Hobbs, who was banged up all season long. Bullard was okay. I like the fact that Bullard likes to hit when somebody does make a catch, but, coverage-wise, it wasn't like he was, smacking down passes defended all over the place. So, anyway, that being said, I just don't think their secondary was good enough. And you saw what the secondary brought in Seattle. Now, that may be the best secondary overall 4 or 5, depending on who you got at nickel. That might be the best defense we've seen all season long, right up there with like the Broncos. But I think they've got more to get in the secondary, to be perfectly honest with you. So, do you think they would have been capable? I thought, regardless of what happened to Micah, I thought unless they ended up with home games, numerous home games, I thought they were going to go to a place like Seattle or, and probably lose. I thought they would beat whomever. I thought they would get over on Chicago, especially if they played Chicago at Lambeau Field. But I thought they'd beat Chicago. Even with Micah, I thought they'd beat Chicago in Chicago. If they didn't win enough games to get them the second seed, I thought they would at least win in Chicago if they had Micah, if they had Devontae, that kind of thing. I think they could get past the divisional round or the wild card weekend. But after that, to an NFC championship game or a divisional round, and you needed to go into Seattle, I don't think they win that game. Seattle's just so strong and so
I wouldn't
balanced.
have picked them. No, but again, this team underperformed so much. I think we're letting them off the hook by watching these playoff teams. They weren't even close.
Right.
I think their injuries created a little separation, but I think the healthy Packers with those couple of players, I think they're pretty close. And that's why it's so disappointing they're losing 8 games a year. Or I guess better put, they're only winning 9 or 10 games a year because even with the injuries, they let in a lot of those games and should have won more of them.
Yep. And I agree with you. And also, I also look at the other side of the football because I thought the offense in certain situations this year let that team down and just kind of went into some kind of hibernation mode. I can't describe it, where they come out and they look bad and then they get things going, they get into a rhythm, or they didn't try anything to get them into a rhythm. We talked about that in Chicago. It's like you go 2, 3 and outs and you can feel the momentum shifting. You can, as we've heard, you can see it on guys' faces. You can feel it on the sideline. You can feel it from the head coach. Players have said it. It's like, go to a 2-minute offense. Do something to just get yourself into a rhythm. Because at this point in time, you're not playing the clock. You're playing the other team, specifically in the third quarter. You got to get some momentum. They just never could get it going. They could never get it up and running.
And they would score, let's say they scored 27 points in a game. Should be enough to win, right? But do you go in the tank in the third quarter and lose a bunch of momentum when you need to run clock in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left? Are you running out of bounds? Like, it's the little things. Right. It's not just about how many yards, how many points. In specific moments when you needed to do this or that, like they really struggled with that stuff.
Right. I would agree. Mike Renner from CBS is going to be joining us when we come back. So we'll talk with him about that and the shift in the NFL a little bit. We'll get into that discussion when we come back as well. There's a lot of good stuff upcoming, not to mention, draft is right around the corner. We're going to be live. We're going to be heading down to the NFL Combine down in Indianapolis, February 24th through the 27th. So make sure you pay attention to our shows down there, because that's where it's like, it's like just before Christmas. The season's over. Everybody's gotten a little sleep. You're still having meetings, but you're not, grinding 18-hour days. You know, you're getting ready to go to these, see the agents. You're going to go see these players. This is where all the presents, before they're wrapped up under the tree, this is where all the presents gather. And it's kind of like getting the old catalog. You know, you're going through it and you're saying, okay, what do we need? And you're flipping through the pages and you're looking at the guys. This is where everybody's in a good mood. Everybody's happy. Nobody's lost a game yet. Everybody's got a fresh new season on the horizon. This is what's going on. So we're going to be at the NFL Combine coming up at the end of February. So pay attention. So we're going to be down there in Indianapolis again this year as well. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show. Mike Renner from CBS Sports up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. They had a party at Smoke on the Water this past weekend. They had a lot of smoked stuff that was being served up, but more so than anything, they had a huge buffet. They had a great party for the big game. The Super Bowl crowd was fantastic, and they're going to continue on. They've got a lot of good stuff happening. They got good music that comes out there to the below deck on the stage out there. So always be checking Smoke on the Water BBQ Okachi on all the social media platforms. And in addition to that, don't forget, right around the corner, the weather's going to change, and next thing you know, the boats are going to be on the water. Summer's going to be here. The out deck and the bourbon bar is going to be open. They had a big bourbon tasting event out there as well. And don't forget Sloppy Joe's Saloon and Spoon, which they have in Hubertus, and that is a terrific, just a good, authentic Wisconsin bar. Both places. Smoke on the Water BBQ Okachi, Sloppy Joe's Saloon and Spoon on Hubertus, in Hubertus. Great places, both of them. Both of them. So stop in, tell Joe and Ellen Hennis and the whole staff that we said hello. Mike Renner from CBS Sports joining us on the hotline. Mike, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Bill. Thanks for having me on.
So let's look at the overall picture. What did you take away from, we'll start with Super Bowl and kind of work our way back a little bit, because to me, I looked at things and I said, you know what? The offenses didn't need to be spectacular, but the defenses did. And we go back to the old adage of defenses win you championship in this postseason.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest thing. It's that the top defenses, it seems like across the NFL, have outpaced the top offenses. You know, we had been trending probably for a decade plus of that not being the case in the NFL, but it seems like the tide's kind of turned with the rise of these, you know, complex 2-high defenses, complex structures up front. That's where, if you're going to win championships, you're going to more likely need a lot of talent on that side of the ball. And specifically, I think defensive tackle. The defensive tackle groups for those two teams in the finals were probably the two best in the NFL. And that just gives you a lot of leeway in today's NFL when you have two guys up front, basically, that you know can stuff the run, you know can create chaos in the backfield every single play. So I think everyone's going to be looking for those kind of guys going forward.
I looked at it this way. The last 2 years, we saw Vic Fangio's defense dominate Kansas City. We saw this year Seattle's defense dominate Drake May and company. And I keep thinking to myself, are the Packers there? Can they compete in what is now trending? And we all know offensively the Packers are a good team. At times it's inexplicable how things go so good and then go so bad. But defensively speaking, do they, in your opinion, have the horses to be able to play with the teams right now that are competing for championships?
I think they do, because offensively, I think they're that good, right? I mean, like the Rams were on the precipice, and the Rams did it via their offense. They are still an elite offense. So I think they can, because they're good enough defensively. But if you just compare their defense to defenses like the Broncos, the Patriots, the Seahawks, the Texans, I think they're struggling because they have more obvious holes. And not only, you know, DT, which I just mentioned, where they kind of cobbled it together, especially after Devontae Wyatt went down, with some no-name guys there, but also cornerback. I mean, they just have bigger issues that they need to fill. If they fill them this offseason, I mean, I can put them right in that mix, because they can rush the passer off the edge extremely well, and Parsons is healthy. But I do think those two areas are what you're circling in red now if you're buying Gutekunst.
I am, and I would agree with that. I'm thinking to myself, you know, you'd like to add offensive line depth coming into this draft. You'd like to find some guys that can give you some hosses up front and be able to protect Jordan Love a little bit better, and maybe open up the run game a little bit better than what they did for Josh Jacobs, because Josh Jacobs hit in the backfield more times this year, far more, double than what he was last year. So to me, you need trench stuff. But defensively speaking, I think it's going to be a heavy draft for the Packers. So is there fortification in this year's draft? I know you're sitting at the Senior Bowl and you're looking at all these different guys and you're saying, okay, this guy can fill the bill. This guy's going to be. Where is the depth defensively speaking in this year's draft?
I do think defensive tackle and run stopper specifically, there's good depth heading into day two. I think they'll be able to get one if that's really what they want to attack. I think corner, there is some depth too. So I think those two positions aren't terrible. Actually, I think the position with the most depth, though, defensively is easily linebacker. There's a ton of linebackers. So if they don't re-sign Quay Walker, they should be able to get someone in this class to fill his shoes. So I think those are the strong positions. Edge rusher, not particularly strong. And safety is solid, but obviously I don't think the Packers are in the market for a safety anytime soon.
That was going to be my next question. What is the pool when it comes to safety depth and or secondary depth in general? Because we saw Nate Hobbs, who really never got healthy throughout the entire season. We saw Keyshawn Nixon, who wanted to be a, quote, CB1. He handled it okay. It wasn't great. There was no, true shutdown guy. Valentine, he is a guy, if he's not pass defending, then he's getting dump trucked and run over because he just doesn't know how to tackle. Javon Bullard's still learning. They need some help in the secondary.
Yeah, they do. Like I said, I think corner is okay. I wouldn't say it's a great class. I wouldn't say it's a weak class by any means, but it's a position that regularly you can find on day two. It's not one that you need to spend first round talent, unlike, defensive tackle, edge, line of scrimmage, those positions more often than not, the great ones come early on. Quarterback, though, you can find specifically later on in the draft. So I think this class, you should be able to find someone on day two if that's where you're looking.
What does the offensive front look like coming into this draft as far as finding? Because really, Rasheed Walker's most likely going to be gone, so they're going to be looking for that left tackle. What did you think of Jordan Morgan? Let me ask you this, because Jordan Morgan is going to get a legitimate shot at being the left tackle for the Green Bay Packers, and I have not seen him play consistently enough to where I could say, oh yeah, he's going to be a good starting tackle. And I don't mean I haven't seen him play. I mean, I see his play one time he's dump trucking somebody, and the next time he's on his ass. So, what did you think of Jordan Morgan coming out of the draft?
I was a fan of his. I had him actually just a touch higher on my board than where he ended up getting drafted. I thought I saw a guy who played with great balance, has good feet. I think, body type wise, he looks more like a guard than a tackle. But so far to date in his career, I actually think he's been better at tackle. I thought his best football came down the stretch this year, when they were flipping him from right tackle to left tackle to right tackle, which obviously didn't help. He started at 4 positions along the offensive line this year. Yeah. That's never going to make your life easy. And it's not something he did at Arizona, right? He was just a left tackle there. So I'm just very interested to see if they can just say, hey, you're our left tackle, prepare all season like you're a left tackle, all off season, and you're going to get the job. I actually think he'll be solid. I think he will be based off of what I saw those last 3 games this season.
How do you think Anthony Belton performed?
He is a man in the running game. He can move people very easily when he gets locked in on doubles, one-on-one, but he is just very up and down right now. He was very inconsistent in pass protection, probably their weakest link when he was in there. So I do think when he was coming out, I thought Morgan could maybe play both guard or tackle. I think Belton's pretty firmly a guard at the NFL level.
The center position, is it deep in this draft for true centers, guys that not only can run block but pass block, still be guys that are anchors in the middle of an offensive line?
It is actually. Now, the only problem I would say, and specifically for the Packers, given how they've coveted offensive linemen in recent years, is they're all kind of undersized. It's a class full of undersized, 300-pounder sort of centers, not your, just call it like it is. They've drafted a lot of 320-plus offensive linemen of late. It's a rarity dating back to, sort of this tree of scouting that the Packers have had. They've trended more towards bigger offensive linemen, and that's what they're running concept-wise offensively, is more gap sort of runs. So there's not really a lot of centers in that mold in this draft, but there are some athletic ones.
I look at what the Packers' needs are going to be. Maybe another wideout, because chances are it's not going to be Romeo Doubs coming back. They're going to lose Elton Jenkins. They're going to lose Rasheed Walker. There are a few pieces offensively, but I think for the most part they're pretty set. And then the X factor, and I know we can't really count on him until he actually plays, was Marshawn Lloyd. 2 years ago, they thought he was the best running back coming out of the draft, and he has not played hardly at all for the Green Bay Packers because he just can't stay healthy. Could he be that 1-2 punch behind a guy like Josh Jacobs if indeed they can finally get this guy healthy?
He has to be, right? Because you're not drafting one. The running back class in this year is the worst one I've ever seen. It is bereft of talent. There might be 2 guys drafted in the entire top 100, and both ones are Notre Dame. So it's not a good class. So I would not draft one this year. I would just pray that Marshawn Lloyd figures out those injury issues.
Yeah, no doubt. And then I want to go back to the NFL in general. We saw a guy like Drake May struggle. I said all postseason, I said, look, he's taking far too many sacks, turning the ball over. Defenses are getting to him. You know, when we talk about the regression of a team, do you think like a team like, say, the New England Patriots, we all see that the team that does not win the Super Bowl regresses the next year? Do you see that out of them, or do you think that this is just the beginning of what they're starting to accomplish, and then it's going to be the betterment of Drake May?
I do, but not because necessarily. I think it could be the same team they were this year, but it just looks worse because they played a historically easy schedule. They had a historically easy run in the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl, right? Facing a backup quarterback in the championship game, that's just a rarity.
Right.
So it could be a similar team and just not have the same results because of that. And also because this is a team that's built through free agency. You can do that when you have a rookie contract quarterback. You know, Drake May in his second year will be in his third year. He's still going to be cheap. But when you build through free agency, that was kind of like the 2021 Bengals, right? They were built through free agency. And then when they started having to build it through the draft, when they started having to hit on those picks, that's when it started to go awry, because when you really spend all the money that they did, you can only keep that team together for 1 or 2 years before those guys who you signed as free agents either get too old, you know, they start to age out, they start to have injuries, they start to not meet that performance, and then their price hit goes up. So I think that kind of was their window. Now they're just one of many in the AFC. You know, I don't think there's anything different between the Patriots than there is like the Chargers besides just health this year. So they're kind of just one of a handful in that conference.
It's so interesting, the AFC, because you got New England winning the division. Buffalo is still going to be there, changing head coaches. You think that Miami might be on the rise with Jeff Hafley going down there. Pittsburgh, I don't know what they're doing in Pittsburgh with Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers possibly. You got to figure Baltimore, maybe they bounce back. Does Cincinnati bounce back with Joe Burrow, because they need so many things defensively speaking? You got Jacksonville, who ascended. The Houston Texans are starting to play their ball. Indianapolis played extremely well until they couldn't anymore. Denver's good. We got to still wait for Justin Herbert and the Chargers to actually get over the hump. And will Kansas City be back? There's a lot of things depth-wise in the AFC, right?
Well, AFC is interesting because of like the 6 best quarterbacks. They might all be in the AFC right now. Now, the best rosters are in the NFC, but they have all the quarterback talent outside of, you know, Matt Stafford, who's almost 40. So the top guys are in the AFC. That's what makes it so tough, is that any given game you catch, you know, Josh Allen on a heater, you catch Lamar Jackson on a heater, you catch Patrick Mahomes on a heater, you could go down and you could be the better team, but too bad you have the lesser quarterback.
When you talk about the best quarterbacks, where do you rank, or where would you put into what echelon Jordan Love?
I think, you know, behind all those guys I just mentioned, I think he's just a touch behind. I think he's kind of in the Dak Prescott tier, which Packers fans may groan when I say that, but that's like, you know, quarterback 8 to 10 in the NFL right now. It's not, if you're a fan base, you could do a lot worse. I think he's been awesome. I think there's big weaknesses to his game, though, that you see. Unfortunately, this past year under pressure, I thought was his worst season by far, but I did think you saw improvements in his accuracy, and you can win a quarterback with that guy, right? I think he's better than Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold just won a Super Bowl. So that's kind of the range I put him. That was, if you would have told me that his very first year as a starter, that's what you were going to get, I think every Packers fan would be happy as heck. Maybe they're a little upset about that now, given the high expectations at quarterback for the Green Bay Packers over the years. But that's just the realm where I see his game. But the good news is, again, he's improved every single year, it seems like. He's adding more tricks to his bag. So if you can just get that trend to continue, he could join that upper echelon because he is that talented from a physical perspective.
The Bears won 11 games. Obviously, there's magic in comebacks and the turnovers. those two statistics usually don't translate from year to year. It's usually that magical year, and then you have to really kind of get it on your own. I said all along, I thought the Bears learned how to win this season. Now it's up to them to take the next step. Do they take the next step, or do they say go in the realm of the Washington Commanders? Now, I know Jaden Daniels was down a lot this year because of injuries, but do they have the regression? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have the regression because of what I was talking about with the Patriots. When you get that number one schedule, life gets harder, right? Going from the easiest schedule in the division to the hardest, it just all of a sudden makes week in and week out grind that much more difficult. So I don't think they won the division, but I don't think they're clear head and shoulders above anyone else in the division. I think it's the most parity division, has the most parity of any division in the NFL. So, I don't see a huge next step from the Chicago Bears team because truthfully, they don't have a ton of young talent outside of their weapons offensively that were already good. So I'm not sure there's like those guys are going to get too much better, but they have sticking power at minimum, right? Like when you have Ben Johnson, when you have as many weapons as they do offensively, when you have Caleb Williams, they are going to be difficult to beat week in and week out.
Mike, great stuff as always, man. Always appreciate your appearances on the program, and we'll talk again real soon, okay?
For sure, Bill. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, bud. Talk to you soon. There you go. Mike Renner, CBS Sports, draft analyst, NFL analyst, all that kind of good stuff. Great to get him on and pick his brain. He was at the Combine, or not at the Combine, at the Senior Bowl, and just has a lot of perspective when it comes to incoming draft classes. Very much a guy that pays attention to the draft. Great to pick his brain and see what's actually available out there. Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll kind of wrap up this particular hour. But I want to get back into some of the thoughts because it seems like there's going to be some guys offensively up front, linebacker. And if you linebacker, I saw what people were reacting to when he said, well, if you don't keep Coy Walker. And I'm going to throw out the cautionary tale. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. I got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show upcoming. This portion of the program brought to you by our good friends over there at Skipper Buds. Skipper Buds, I see the sun. I see snow melting. It starts to make me wonder a little bit. Makes me daydream a little bit. I start thinking about the boat, getting on the lakes, just enjoying myself, whether it's heading downtown and going up the rivers for a cruise and maybe getting a little dinner, or you're just out on the open water, sitting in a sandbar, beverage in hand. Oh, can't wait. Can't wait for summer. You too can make those water dreams come true. That is our friends at Skipper Buds. Boat sales, service, and storage. 262-544-1200. Ask for Todd. He's the GM. 262-544-1200. Again, 262-544-1200.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome in. Hour down. That's fast, man. Time flies when you're having fun, right? Right? Hell yeah. Oh, yeah. Coming up in the next hour, we got all kinds of stuff. We're going to be talking with Jim Owczarski a little bit. We'll talk with him about now that the dust has settled. Now that the dust has settled, we're going to talk with him about the Milwaukee Bucks and moving forward and what the thoughts are moving forward. We'll get into all of that. So that's upcoming. And we'll got more discussion regarding, obviously, the Green Bay Packers. Now that the dust is settled on the Brewers trade, we'll get into all of that. So we've got all of that, plus your phone calls when we come back. So we got a little bit of time here at the top of the hour. Going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We'll get right back into it. Lee and Auburndale will get to you right when we come back. So don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Whole lot more happening. An hour down, 3 more yet to go. The Bill Michaels Show. Reminder that we are going to be broadcasting live down there in Indianapolis, Indiana, for the NFL Combine. It's going to take place Tuesday through Friday. February 24th through the 27th, we're going to be there. Same as what we did last year. We're going to be right there in the media center. All the general managers are going to be talking. We'll get all the news. Goody will speak. We'll get all of that. Not to mention all the analysis for the players that are there, who may be good, who may be bad, all that kind of stuff. So we've got all of our good friends that are going to be happening again down there. And whatever inside stuff we get for you as well, we'll spew along. But we had a great time down there last year, going back again this year. Myself, Grant Bills, Mike Clemens, all going to be live down in Indianapolis, Indiana. The NFL Combine 2026 version is on tap, so stay tuned for that. Going to go ahead and take a quick break. This portion of the program is brought to you by our friends at Potawatomi. Potawatomi had a big old party for the big game this past weekend. The sports book was a jamming. Without a doubt, Sportsbook was jamming. They had the big screens going. They had service. They had food. They had beverages. They had a few wagers being placed. But the Sportsbook was jamming. Great place to go. And a great place to visit also with the hotel and everything. It's right down the street from American Family Field. So it's a great place to shuttle back and forth to Brewers games if you're going to go there and get a little entertainment on behalf of our friends at Potawatomi. Stay tuned. We got 3 more hours of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
While Milwaukee continued its roster makeover yesterday with another trade in advance to spring training, third baseman Caleb Durbin was among 3 players sent to Boston in exchange for left-handed pitchers Kyle Harrison and Shane Drohan, along with infielder David Hamilton. The 24-year-old Harrison was one of the top prospects of the San Francisco Giants organization, making his major league debut in 2023. Over his 3 seasons, including the second half of last year in Boston after being traded there, Harrison went 9-9 with a 4.39 ERA. GM Matt Arnold said Harrison provides an exciting left-handed arm to their rotation. In addition to Durbin, the Brewers also sent infielders Andrew Monasterio and Anthony Siegler to Boston, essentially all of their depth at third base. Milwaukee's pitchers and catchers report tomorrow for spring training with their first workout on Wednesday. Turning to the Bucks, their 3-game winning streak was snapped last night in Orlando as they would fall to the Magic 118-99. Head coach Doc Rivers reacts on the loss.
I wish we had gotten a fight tonight, not literally fight, but I just thought they were the more physical team tonight. It's amazing. You can never know. We had 2 great days, and So that was disappointing tonight.
The Bucs will stay in Orlando and take on the Magic again tomorrow.
For nearly 40 years, ABC of Wisconsin has been helping men and women transform themselves into well-paid, productive members of their construction teams. Today, we have 2,000 active apprentices in 10 different skilled trade programs, and we educate individuals in more trades than anyone else. To get your career started, go to buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
The Packers are among one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl next year. They're listed at 14-1 to win Super Bowl 61, which is tied the seventh best odds with Detroit, while the defending champions Seattle Seahawks and Los Angeles Rams are both listed as co-favorites. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome. So glad you're with us today. Bill Michaels Show. On the air. Over your streams, wherever you're getting us. We always appreciate you hanging out with us for sure. And if you are looking to get a hold of us, it's easy. 877-867-1670. You can text us 608-321-1670. You can find us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. And track us down there. Always appreciate that. Again, youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. You can find us in many different facets when it comes to Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok under The Bill Michaels Show. Over on Twitter, on X, @Bill_Michaels. Find Grant @Wisco Grant. We're on the Twitch app, the Kick app, the LinkedIn app as well. Our app, which is Wisco Sports Zone. Wisco Sports Zone. You can find us there and download it. We appreciate it when you do. And you can also find us at wiscosportzone.com, which is a tremendous way, which is thebillmichaels.com. There's the website. And then you can find us via email, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. And also My24 TV in Milwaukee. And find us there also. So there's plenty of ways to be a part of the show, kind of respond to the show if you want to call it that, participate. On the socials, as they say, on the DMs. I don't know, whatever it is. Who cares? That being said, we got a lot to get to today. Brewers, the dust is settled. We're going to talk some Bucks basketball in this hour. Jim Owczarski is going to be joining us. Also, we're going to talk a little more about the Green Bay Packers and the fact that we just had Mike Renner on, who says that there are a bet of defenders this year, and this could possibly be a good year for the defensive side of the football when it comes to guys in the trenches, guys in the secondary, and that kind of stuff. So might not be a bad year because it's obviously going to be a defensive-heavy draft. There's a lot of pieces that they have on the offensive side of the football. They just need to add depth in the trenches, in my opinion. But this might be the year where you just see a defensive-heavy draft. They just kind of stockpile as much as they can, throw as much at the wall as they can. You get back Micah at some point. You get back Devontae at some point, and then you continue to build that roster on the defensive side of the football and try to make yourself to a semblance of what we saw Seattle bring to the table. So there you have it. Again, 877-867-1670. Let's go to Lee listening to us in Auburndale. Lee, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Morning, Bill. How you doing?
Doing good, man. What you thinking?
So a couple of things that, as we decompress from the Super Bowl and relook at the Packers season, do I think the Packers have some players on defense? Yes. Are we close? No. I look at a couple of things. If you look at the team, the roster construction, and then circle back to the coaching. So you got Wyatt and Parsons coming off of significant injuries. You got Kraft and Tom on the offensive line coming off of significant injuries. So let's look at our cornerback room. It's bad, Bill. It's nowhere near the Woodson and Tremont or to Craig and Doug Evans and Super Bowl 31 and Mike Pryor. We're not there. You look at then the offensive line. Walker's gone. Let's say they cut Banks because we're good salary cap position. Jenkins are probably going to let go. It's another major injury for an aging player. Why would you hang on to him? You look at Sean Ryan, he might just say, you know what, you guys, I'm always on the verge of being cut until you need somebody. And then I play well, and then you move me around. Maybe the grass is greener in his eyes. And then you got Zach Tom, who is coming off of a major, major injury where a lot of people are saying he's not going to be the same player. So if your whole offensive line is shot on top of you got to rebuild a defense again, it doesn't look great. And then you look into the coaching piece. Matt LaFleur is going into his 8th season, and this is going to be his 4th defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you, open-minded, who have the Packers coaches really developed as players? Who have they taken from a nice, raw, high-potential talent and developed them into a perennial all-pro? And, man, that list is pretty small. You could, Zach Tom, he developed into a really nice tackle. Then who? The trend has been downward with Matt LaFleur.
Well, you could say, if I had to pick, I have to say, obviously, Tucker Kraft. He's a guy.
Yeah.
Tucker Kraft, Devontae Wyatt really started to be the player that they expected him to be this coming season. Quay Walker has ascended over the years. He's gotten better, but specifically after they picked up Edger Cooper, and Edger Cooper's good. But after that, it's thin. And I agree with you.
Yeah.
Man, Evan Williams is, I like Evan Williams in the secondary. I mean, he's an ascending guy too. So, knock on wood that he continues to do it. But you're right. It's been relatively thin.
Right. And no disagreements there. I like those players. I really do. And we're talking about that significant ascension to being recognizable. Now, was that Hafley in the scheme? And now what happens now that you got Gannon there? Here's the other thing. We come back to coaching, and is Matt LaFleur the guy? For a guy that's the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, we can all agree that the expectation is Super Bowls. If you're the Arizona Cardinals or the Carolina Panthers or the Atlanta Falcons, winning 9, 10, 11 games may make you happy. Why is he so comfortable at what is being produced on the field? I'd be pulling my hair out. I wouldn't be getting a haircut every 2 weeks. I'd have no hair left.
Right.
That level of comfort that he has is scary. Where's the urgency? And then we go back to the coaching piece again. You talk about players like, I didn't know which play we were running. The communication wasn't good. I didn't know how to pass off this guy or that guy. I didn't know which route to run. That's all coaching. And why are we continuously coming back to the same things? Now, there could be a really big silver lining in it, because I don't think Matt LaFleur is the guy. I just don't see the ascension, the want, the grit. They fold under pressure. They can't close out teams. They only do really well if they get out to a big lead. If you even think about this, go back to the Packers-Cowboys game in the playoffs when we were just trouncing them. The Cowboys were getting back into that game pretty easily. Now, you could say, well, Green Bay was running out the clock. They were doing this and that. Right. But you know what? What if that game went the other way? What if that game would have went the way that Chicago went this year in the playoffs? Would we be saying the same thing?
Nope.
There could be one silver lining to all this. And again, I'm thinking we're going to be in the same spot in 1 year where it's wash, rinse, and repeat. You do have Sean McDermott sitting out there who was not hired in this last cycle, because we all kind of thought like, ooh, that's kind of a reaction by Buffalo. He can develop quarterbacks. He's not afraid to change out coaching if stuff isn't getting done. He has that level of detail and discipline, and sometimes when you can't get a monkey off your back, maybe the best thing is that he gets a fresh start, but maybe he's the coach for the Packers in the future. I don't know. but there's a big mountain to climb, and we all know we don't have 2 first-round picks now because of the Parsons trade.
Right. And you know what? Here's the thing about there are people that bemoan that, and I don't, only for the fact that you got a first rounder by giving up a first rounder. I don't have a problem with that. So that to me is no big deal. But the coaching side of things, I agree with you in the ability to close out games. I agree with you that there have been times where, because he's in charge of the offense has just completely come off the tracks at times, or really never even got started at times. But I'll say this, and what I learned out at Super Bowl from having some conversations with people that were in the know, Matt LaFleur had the contract in the back of his mind this year and said that he was pretty nervous about whether or not he was keeping his job or not, specifically down the stretch. And there was some pressure there that, that was not there in the past. And now that one of the questions, I guess, that came from Matt LaFleur to this person who spoke to him said he just finally can breathe. So I don't know. Maybe that starts to translate into positive things. I couldn't honestly tell you because I think you're always coaching for your job. Right. I think Matt LaFleur is, depending on what happens, I think he's here at least 2 more years. Because they're not going to can him next year unless things go horrifically wrong. But I think in 2 years, they can look at this and go, okay, it's 10 years. What have you done? What have you ascended to? Where have you been able to take this team? Has it just been the NFC Championship game early on with Aaron Rodgers, or are you able to get back there and actually coach them? I give him credit for getting 2 defensive coordinators over on the defensive side of the football to say, hey, that's your deal now. Let me just worry about the offense. So I'm anxious to see what this season looks like, but I've said before, and I'll say it again, I didn't think he deserved to keep his job after losing 5 straight, and especially the way they lost in Chicago. And if we see wash, rinse, repeat on a continual basis again, I'm going to be the 1,000-pound gorilla in the room going, what the hell did you do bringing this guy back when he can't get his team motivated to close out games? And guys in the locker room were questioning that. And that's when I say you made a mistake in keeping him. You should have made the move at that particular point in time, because just the consistency of continuity wasn't enough to keep his job. That was my opinion at the time. And until he changes it, that's the way it's going to be.
I agree. And I'm looking for this talent to ascend. Where can we go? Because Evan Williams, Cooper, yes, on the rise. Wyatt on the rise. But now we continue that.
Now you need Matthew Golden. Now you need more out of Jaden Reed. Yeah. Now you need more out of Christian Watson. Yeah. Now you need more out of Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. Now you need Jordan Morgan to actually be the left tackle that you thought he was going to be. You need those guys to ascend to the roles that you thought they would be. And I appreciate the phone call. I got to run. You need those guys to get to that point. And defensively speaking, Bullard's got to be better. Williams is going to get better. You hope that those guys, Nate Hobbs, got to be better. Got to be better in that secondary. Keyshawn Nixon, got to be better. You need those guys continue to grow. Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's all coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
There is an attention to detail that is lacking with the Packers, and it has. I mean, I want to say even into the end of the home gun years, where there's just, I think I want to blame Aaron Rodgers. I want to blame Brett Favre. I want to blame Mike McCarthy. I want to blame Matt LaFleur. The reason the Patriots, well, I mean, one of the reasons they went to so many Super Bowls is because they had so many damn home games in the playoffs, so many buys. It happened year after year after year. And you know why it happened year after year after year? Because they won all those regular season games they were supposed to win, because they had a good attention to detail and were buttoned down organization. And I think this Patriots team had the same thing. They had an easy ass schedule, but they took care of business. Well, the Packers, when they get those easy schedules, I think there's always 2 or 3 games where you know business losing that game, but they just can't keep it together. I think something with coach quarterback. As brilliant as Favre and Rodgers were, I think there was something lacking there in terms of their makeup. I think the coaches are the same way. McCarthy and LaFleur, all they're doing is thinking about the drive starter on the next drive or their next third down play. All these other loose ends just get left by the wayside.
Yeah.
And it's a frustrating thing to see with the Packers, because I think a lot of years they've just been more talented than they've shown.
Those are the words of Mike Felger. He was with Grant on Radio Row this past Friday, and some of his thoughts, which really kind of echoes a lot of the sentiments of Packers fans. Like the Packers have been a really talented team, and they've had enough to go further. They just, for whatever reason, have not been able to capitalize, and their own success has eluded them, mainly for the fact that their own ineptitude overtook. So good stuff from Mike Felger. He was on the show with Grant Bills out there in San Francisco, California. This portion of the program brought to you by our good friends at J&L Tire and Service Center. They're out in Johnson Creek, and they're also in Watertown. And whether it's just getting tires, oil change, whatever it happens to be, for a minivan, small coupe, or all the way up to an 18-wheeler, they have the facilities to help everybody. They warranty their work. They're good people. They do a lot of philanthropic stuff in the community. Just great stuff from our friends at J&L Tire and Service Center. And they continue to be voted the best. I mean, you don't take that lightly, and it's not by myself. It's by the customers in the area as to who they would rather go to. That's the reason it's worth the ride. 94 in Johnson Creek, right there at the exit, just north of the Johnson Creek exit. You can see it from the highway. And if you're in the Watertown area, Boulder Road in Watertown. That is J&L Tire and Service Center. J&L Tire. Work with somebody who gives back. Work with somebody who warranties their work and the word you can trust. And when they say this is what's wrong, you can really believe that's what's wrong. They're not just trying to, kind of milk the bills, so to speak. Good people over there, J&L Tire and Service Center. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Donald says, hey, Bill, are you rooting for the demise of Matt LaFleur, or are you rooting for the Green Bay Packers? I'm getting mixed messages here. That's Donald listening to us in Menominee Falls. By far, I'm rooting for the Packers to do well. I'm not rooting for the downfall of Matt LaFleur. Not at all. As a matter of fact, the opposite. I'm hoping Matt LaFleur has a mass amount of success, and we're all celebrating that. And it's a terrific vote of confidence and vote of faith, and that faith is then rewarded. All of that. I'm rooting for all of that. My thought is, going into this, I'm going to be completely wide open. I'm not coming in predetermined, okay? But my point being, if I see the same thing again that we've seen in the past, bad clock management, the inability to close out games, giving up big leads, things like that where you're taking your foot off the gas or your team just simply doesn't have a killer instinct, then I'm thinking to myself, what the hell did they learn over the last 3 or 4 years that made them say, this is it? Is it the injuries? Did you give him the benefit of the doubt because of that? Did you give him the benefit of the doubt because, well, maybe he blamed it on Jordan Love. Maybe he blamed it on the defense. Maybe whatever. Maybe it was the personnel. Maybe it was on good. Do you look at it just, we went continuity for continuity's sake? Or do you say, you know what, this guy's got a really good plan how to fix things, some of the things that we saw this year. So let's see them get fixed. And if they get fixed, then you know what? I have given Matt LaFleur a ton of credit. I go back a couple of years when he was going through one of the biggest strifes probably in his coaching career, and I thought he did a masterful job, and I've said it time and again. So I've given him praise. I've given him credit. Go back to the first year with Jordan Love, masterful job. That locker room, I think, was ready to blow. Masterful job. He put his arms around it, did a great job. The first year with Aaron Rodgers, trying to get Rodgers back under the umbrella, trying to get him back focused, trying to make sure that all that relationship was good to go. He spent 3 years of his coaching career just massaging the ego of what we appeared on the outside looking in perspective-wise of just making sure that the quarterback was appeased, trying to make sure that that relationship was productive behind closed doors and on the field. And he did a great job at that. There were certain things that I didn't like in game. We can all go back to the Tampa Bay game. We can all go back to the San Francisco game. We can go to the way the team just kind of laid down and died against Detroit when they had a shot at going to the playoffs. All of that, you can go to that. But I thought overall what he's done is really good. And that's what he was kind of being judged on, I would assume, by Ed Policy. But if you see those same things rear their ugly head, then you're thinking to yourself, what I said was, I think he's taken this team as far as he can take them. Now they gave him a vote of confidence. So I'm now like, okay, show me. Show me.
That's all very fair. My only pushback, and I don't disagree with you, and I think we said even before the season ended, if they bring back Matt LaFleur, I'll get it, and I won't lose my mind. I think the frustration of many is, well, how many years in a row do we need to see it before it becomes clear? Because I think in Jordan Love's second year, we saw a lot of growing pains. He was banged up, and LaFleur had some bad coaching, and the wide receivers had drops, and it was a team that maybe wasn't quite ready for the expectations we'd put on them.
Mm-hmm.
And this last year was supposed to be the year where a lot of those things were smoothened out. They were supposed to be more mature, and they were supposed to execute at a higher level. And it was a lot of the same stuff. So I'm starting to think, well, if it didn't get better this year, I suppose it could get better next year. But why should I hold my breath? Why should Packers fans hold their breath?
Exactly.
Why do you expect anything different next year?
I agree with that.
And I think that's the fear, is that they bring back Matt LaFleur, and we're sitting here with our thumb up our bet next January saying, they were the 7th seed again. And it's the same stuff. And then you've wasted a year essentially, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Completely agree. And that's the catch-22 in this. It's like, what side of there's two ends of the pipe. You got to come out of one end. Are you going to be the failure? And we're sitting here talking about the same old, or are you going to be the ascension where you come out of the end of the pipe where the light is and say, okay, he took them to another level. We saw, much like our caller just before, Lee in Auburndale, who said, hey, I need to see more. I need to see guys ascend. I need to see more talent out of the guys that they've drafted. And maybe that's on Goody. But you need to see more. I think we all need to see more. And then you can say, okay, I get it. Ed Policy behind closed doors, good move. Your first big move as the new president of the Green Bay Packers was the right move. And you want to commend him for it. I think as Packers fans, we all want to see the success. We'd all like to be out in LA next year, enjoying the warm weather and a Super Bowl at SoFi and all that kind of stuff. So we're all excited about that. I just want to see that. But if you see the same old, the screams next year will be deafening if you see the same old. I think it starts with winning the division.
They absolutely should be.
Right.
I think we'll be leading those screams because how could you think anything else if it's all of the same stuff next year when they're healthy and with a different DC? I just don't understand how you draw any other conclusion next year.
And again, it depends on how you get from point A to point B. I get it because I always say that. That's why you got to go into the next season with an open mind. You got to go in and say, let's see how they get there. Are they completely healthy and we still see the same failures? Are they even more decimated by injuries? Do they lose their quarterback for 8 games, 9 games, or an entire season? And you're playing with now a backup who you don't have Malik Willis anymore. So you got to kind of hitch your wagon to what? Ritter? Desmond Ritter. I mean, who are you going to hitch your wagon to? So it depends on how they get from point A to point B. But that's why I go into it with an open mind. But I go into it also with, if I see the same old, that's when like you said, you and I, we can grab the pitchforks and the fire sticks and go marching up to 1265 saying this was a mistake. And I think it's fair. I know people think that I'm rooting against them. I'm not. As a Packers fan, I'm like everybody else. You may be mad. You may be disappointed. You may be disenchanted. I get it. But I think come opener next year, whether it's at Lambeau Field or wherever else, when we do the postgame show, we're all going to be rooting for the Green Bay Packers to get wins. We're all going to be hoping that they put wins and W's up on the board. They win the division. They beat the Bears twice. They beat the Lions twice. They beat the Vikings twice. That they now take their, proper place back atop the division. They get a home playoff game, and things go from there. That's what everybody's hoping for. And we'll wait and see if it actually happens. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. I want to hear from you. Off of the text line out of the 920, we need a big-time player on defense to back Micah. Look at all the great Packer defenses in the past. We need another all-pro in the secondary. 715 says, thanks for sharing that point about the head coach having that on his mind, but I don't think as a professional coach leading professional athletes that you have to pull that aside, and you have to still be resilient enough to have that not on your mind. Your goal is championships, because if that's the case, I really second guess his leadership during the pressure moments. I think with anybody concerned about their job, about their employment, human nature is it weighs heavy on you, man. Now, if I'm a head coach in the National Football League, you're worried about your job. You're worried about the millions that you're making, because you're going to go from making millions and being bought out to, I'm not going to be making millions anymore. I'm probably going to go somewhere else, either as a head coach or a defensive or an offensive coordinator. I'm going to make less. I got to move my family, and I'm worried about my family. I'm worried about my kids. I'm worried about schools. It weighs heavy on you. And when I was told that, I was a little surprised. I was a little surprised when that conversation came up. But it also gives me perspective. It's kind of like when we talk about Jordan Love. And people say, well, you should have did this, should have did that. And we get a guy like Greg Cosell that says, look, I don't know how he's being coached. Yes, you can see where things should have transpired maybe differently, but we don't know how he's being coached. Did he miss that guy? Did he not run because he's being told not to? Did he not run because he's afraid of getting hurt? I don't know. So what I do know is what I see, and I can only judge it off of what I see. But you can't say he's this, he's that, he missed this, he missed that, because you don't specifically know how he's being coached. And I think that needs to be something that's a little more, our guy like Bill Huber, when Bill Huber or Mike Clemens in a presser, and you say, hey, on that 3rd and 2, it looked like he had room to run. Is that something that he should be doing, or is that something you have told him not to do? And I think it's a fair question. And that's something that maybe needs to be further asked. So we'll find out eventually. But anyway, going back to the Matt LaFleur thing and that particular point, I think it's human nature for anybody. If you're concerned about your job, it leaks into your job. Because then, again, it's like running in quicksand. You're trying to do everything perfect. You're trying to be better. You're trying to be, you get outside of yourself a little bit. And maybe that was part of it. Maybe, standing on the sidelines, you're starting to think to yourself, not only am I losing the game, I could be losing my job. I don't know. I don't know what goes through a person's head. So we'll see. 877-867-1670. Doug from Unalaska says, hey, Bill, we talk about what to do with Quay Walker. The guy nobody talks about is Tyron Hopper. When he's had defensive snaps, I think he's played pretty well. He's not as fast as Walker, but his instincts might be a little bit better than Walker's. Is Hopper destined to become just a special teams guy, or could he slip into the starting role? Plus, it sounds to me like we can get a decent linebacker on day 3. And oh boy, by the way, can we stifle the LaFleur talk until next December? He just signed a new contract, so he's not going anywhere for a while. Some listeners need to get over it for now. And that's what I said. He's not going anywhere for at least for 2 years, unless it just crashes and burns. No injuries, bad locker room, guys are speaking out, no killer instinct, team plays soft. Then I think they go, hey, you know what? We made a mistake. We got to move on. Otherwise, he's there at least 2 years, at least. This season and next, and then you kind of see where the proof is in the pudding or not. But when it comes to the linebackers, that's the interesting side of things. When you heard from Mike Renner say, yeah, the linebacker position is pretty deep, maybe that hurts Quay Walker and wanting to come back or making a deal. I still think the Packers want him back. Just my instinct, and from what I hear, I think the Packers want him back. But depends on what he's going to want, if indeed he's going to come back. And if he hits the open market and there's going to be these just people falling on their heads for a speedy middle linebacker that has gotten better each year, maybe he's earned himself more money than what the Packers are willing to give him. But it seems like at least you could bring in somebody behind a guy like Edgerrin Cooper and maybe, kind of slip them in there and maybe they play just as well, hopefully better. But I still think they want Quay Walker back. So 877-867-1670. You can hit us up. When we come back, we got Jim Owczarski coming up next. We're going to talk a little Bucks basketball. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be talking to Jim about, now that the dust is settled on the honest, all the trade talk that never happened and never transpired, and duh. So we're going to talk with Jim about where this team is now. Doc saying last night he wishes his team had more fight. So we'll get into that discussion a little bit as well. This portion of the program for Big Boar Barbecue. Big Boar Barbecue right out there in West Salem, Wisconsin. You can give them a call, 608-612-0387. It's family owned. If you want to get some catering done, maybe for your business, maybe for an event you have coming up, or just stop in. It's just a really good, wholesome, run by three brothers place. Really good place. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. They've got it all. Check out the menu. I encourage you to do that. Go to Big Boar, BOAR, BigBoarBBQ.com. That is BigBoarBBQ.com. And they have their specially made sauces and such for sale as well. You can take them with you. Good stuff. BigBoarBBQ.com.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
I wish we had gotten a fight tonight, not literally fight, but I just thought they were the more physical team tonight. And, you can never know. We had 2 great days. And so that was disappointing tonight, really. I thought we hung in there. But I actually didn't like how we played in the first half, and we were up. Didn't play well, didn't move the ball. I think they had 12 more shots than us. It was a frustrating night tonight.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show. Continuing on. Not a good night. You heard the words of Doc Rivers discussing his team's performance, and you saw a fight last night between Charlotte and Detroit, and he was kind of referencing that, saying, I wish we saw a little more fight out of our guys. But joining us now on the hotline is our guy, and that is Jim Owczarski from the Journal-Sentinel. Jim, last night you had a melee, which took place down in Charlotte, and the Bucks just very quietly go into that good night. So a little bit different tale of 2 teams. So how is it now that the trade deadline and all the rumors have settled down?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a settled feeling. Maybe too settled considering we're in Orlando for 4.5 days right before the All-Star break. This is not a team, Bill, that can afford to look ahead to vacation. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was a winnable game last night, and we're well past the halfway point of the season. Every other team in the play-in, including the Charlotte Hornets, lost last night, and the Bucks could have picked up a game on everybody. If they would have just handled business in the second half. And so, yeah, we'll see tomorrow, Bill. Oklahoma City back to back. That's a tough place to play, but the Thunder are really sort of load managing guys. This was a chance, I think, for them to really, go into the break either winning 5 or 6. That's still possible. It's a little harder to do on a back to back, Bill. So yeah, I mean, post trade deadline, it's more settled, but maybe too comfortable here in sunny Florida.
Yeah.
for the Bucks.
And the interesting thing I thought was that you see what the Bucks are doing and where they're playing. You got Orlando, obviously. They had played the Pacers at home, but the cross-country trip by Giannis, because he was at the Super Bowl. Now, I know he's been banged up and not really able to do anything anyway, but was there anything made of that he went, he left the team, he went and caught the Super Bowl and then came back into Orlando?
No, because my understanding is everybody, I mean, he's not practicing or anything. He's doing rehab. So my understanding, Bill, is everyone who was available, practiced on Sunday afternoon here. And yeah, I mean, obviously that evening was free. So if you have the means and wherewithal to make a flight and come back, Thanasis was at shoot around the next morning. So, in terms of that type of stuff, his evening off was far more high profile than everybody else's. But I would imagine, Bill, everybody else was watching the game somewhere Sunday night.
Before the 3-game win streak, which was snapped last night, they had lost 8 out of 9. and things not looking good. They're what, 9 games under 500 right now, I think, if I read correctly this morning. Again, losing last night in kind of ugly fashion. They've got the back-to-back with Orlando. That's coming up tomorrow. So where is this team right now? I mean, they get a little bit of a head of steam, if you will, against the Bulls and the Pelicans and the Pacers, but none of those teams are really that good. But at least you kind of put your train back on the track and you get the feel-good win again. But where is this team?
Yeah, it's. I mean, you'd feel a lot better if you're the Bucks having won 4 in a row. Beating a team in Orlando that's going to make the playoffs, right, Bill? And that's the conversation here is, Giannis is going to come back. He's going to play at some point, and he is not someone who suffers losing. This is not a team that's going to outwardly tank like the Utah Jazz or the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, they're losing enough on their own. They don't need to try to lose. You know what I mean? But he's going to come back and they're going to win games, Bill. Like when up until the very end of his last healthy run, if he played, they were on like 48 win pace, which is, where they had been the last couple of years. So, what they need to be, where they need to try to be, is better without him. And you're right, 3 in a row against bad teams. Sure, you can only play who's on your schedule.
Sure.
It's winning games like last night or tomorrow against the Magic. I don't know if Oklahoma City is going to rest all their guys. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. We know Shea's not playing. What can you do in a back-to-back before the break? Are you just going to mail it in? Or are you going to end this thing appropriately because you're so far behind? I don't know the answer to that, Bill, because, we've seen them. It's like these ebbs and flows, and they look okay sometimes. They look terrible at other times. It's just tough to say. And I don't, Cam Thomas was signed to maybe give him some scoring boosts off the bench, but let's be real. He was waived for a reason. He didn't get a long-term deal for a reason. It's not like he's just going to come in here and score 20 a game. Right. So yeah, Bill, it's got to be frustrating for fans. And I think it's frustrating for members of the team too, where it's just like, come on, like where are we going with this? What can click? And Doc Rivers just hasn't really been able to find, those right buttons yet.
Well, Brooklyn sucks. I mean, they're 15, 14 wins on the season or something like that. Maybe, not to say that the Bucks are head and shoulders better, but seemingly they've got a better team, a better squad than what Brooklyn does. Maybe he gets a little rejuvenated. I mean, maybe you're just trying to kind of catch lightning in a bottle at this point by that signing when he was waived by Brooklyn at that point and didn't get the long-term extension. So maybe he comes back a little rejuvenated with another opportunity to say, hey, here's my wares. I'm going to at least showcase him here in Milwaukee, and then maybe I can transfer that into another deal somewhere else. Not to saying that he would have done that in Brooklyn anyway. He should have been thinking that way, but maybe just a rejuvenation with greener grass, I mean, I'm trying to read maybe more positive into this maybe than what it actually is.
No, I think that's exactly why John Horst made the signing. I mean, you have an open roster spot. You're not there. I mean, look, it's a buyout market, but we've talked about this for years. DeAndre Bembry's and Javon Carter's and, Danilo Gallinari. Like, you're just not getting, high impact players at the buyout market. Cam Thomas is 24 years old and he can score 20 points a game. And so to your point, he was definitely unhappy and frustrated in Brooklyn. He turned down several long-term deals because he didn't think it was his value. He settled on a 1-year deal. He was hurt. I don't know what his, how he felt about the situation, but clearly they decided it was time to part ways. And you're right. Look, if he wants to play in the NBA next year, he's got to show a little something. And obviously, clearly the Bucks are hoping that they're the beneficiaries of that. Whether he plays enough to score 20 points a game or he just gives you, 10 points in 12 minutes, right? It kind of can give you that spark. Because look, Bill, this team, they didn't score 100 points last night. I believe it's the third time in their last 8 games they haven't scored 100. Like, this isn't the 90s. I mean, the fight between the Hornets and the Pistons might have looked like a 90s fight, but this is not the 90s. Like, you need to be scoring 110 points a game in this league and maybe Cam Thomas can help them do that.
Talk about the fight last night. I mean, I'll say this. Detroit, and I've said this for a while, that between New York and Detroit, Cleveland to a certain extent, I don't think they're really going to be there. But Detroit has ascended specifically over the last few weeks. And that's a team that I think very quietly nobody was talking about, saying they could end up not only being really good, but they could win the East. They could win it all before it's all said and done. Now, I don't think they will. I still think right now, head and shoulders, Oklahoma City is still the team to beat. But, man, that's a team that they don't remind me of the Bad Boys, but they're kind of like a 2.0 version where they're very physical. They don't take crap. They play the inside. They pound the boards. They do a lot of things right. But I'll give Charlotte credit. They weren't going to take their crap last night, you know?
No, you're right. And yeah, the Pistons, look, I before the season, Bill, I mean, I'll own it. I didn't think the Pistons were going to go from what they win 40-something games last year. I didn't think they would make this leap. And so credit to the Pistons, credit to JB Bickerstaff for, I think they were on 60-win pace for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they are the real deal. You don't win that many games in the NBA and not, have a real chance. Now, what's interesting, though, Bill, is look, Isaiah Stewart is a guy that they love there. Bucks fans, I know he tries to injure Giannis on a regular basis. He's been ejected from games with the Bucks. They love him, and this is what he does. But I'm fascinated to see, if he's hit with how do you not get a 10-game suspension, Bill?
Right.
Not only did he run off the bench, which of course we know is no number one, but he ran off the bench and started throwing punches.
Yep.
And here's a guy who's already been suspended for throwing punches. I mean, he punched out a guy in the back hallways in Phoenix a couple years ago. So I wonder if that will truly be galvanizing, or if that's like oh man, we're going to come out of the All-Star break and we're missing this guy for 10 games or whatever it may be. I don't know, Bill. I'm fascinated to see how they handle that, because they love him, but that's a huge, this is a bad decision on his part to do that. And yeah, you're right. Charlotte, those guys are fighting, like Charles Lee, former Bucks coach. He's got them in the play-in right now. Bill, they won 8 in a row, and now they're going to have 2 of their top players missing for however long. That was just not good by a lot of parties.
Right. It at least perked people's interest into the NBA back up.
I mean, yeah, people were. Yeah, right after the Super Bowl, it's like, oh, wait a minute, that's happening?
Right? There's an NBA going on. Yeah, exactly, because we're just kind of hanging out in between the weeks that pitchers and catchers report. So let's see what happens. I agree. Hey, before I let you go now, come the All-Star break, which is about to happen, when do we expect Giannis back? I've seen him at shoot-arounds. I've seen him doing a few things, but he's really, like you said, not working out a ton right now. When do they expect him back?
Yeah, so we'll try to pin that down a little more with Doc, because it does look like, Bill, Giannis wants to participate in the All-Star game in some fashion. Now, when I say participate, if we remember back in 2023, he almost broke his wrist the night before, and he took the tip off and he did a dunk and fouled, and then that was it, right? He wanted to. He was voted in. I feel like he's trending in that direction of being on the court for the tip off. They throw him the ball and they let him dunk, and that's it. That's no one has said that, but it feels like that because he hasn't been replaced yet by the league. So I'll start there. He was doing some light running in Orlando on the court before the game. He's going through his workout. So it's still no timetable, but it still might be earlier than March. I mean, he's trending, Bill. And he's a guy who wants to play. This is not a team, as I said at the start of this, that's going to tank and try to lose on purpose. He's trying to get back and win games. So no hard timetable yet as we speak, but he's definitely trending in the way of playing here, maybe after the break for sure.
Jim, good stuff as always, man. Appreciate it. And we will talk again next week as things continue to matriculate through the NBA. Okay?
Yeah. Speak then, Bill. Talk to you.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. There you go. Jim Owczarski of the Journal Sentinel joining us for a couple of minutes. The beat writer for the Milwaukee Bucks giving us the lowdown. Yeah, that was a little bit of a Donnybrook that broke out last night between Charlotte and the Pistons, but more so the update and what Cam Thomas can bring to the table, where Giannis is right now, and where this Bucks team is right now after the loss. and then going into the All-Star break as well. Going to go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to come back. We got more. Don't go anywhere. The Bill Michaels Show continues on right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome in, Bill Michaels Show. So glad you're with us today on this sunshiny day. Get a little warmer outside, not a bad way to go. Hey, I want to let you know the Bill Michaels Show, just in case anything ever happens to you and you just happen to need an attorney. Maybe to start a business, you need some write some contracts. Maybe on the positive side of things, right? Or, God forbid, personal injury, or you kind of want to get ahead of yourself and do some estate planning or living wills and stuff like that. Whatever it happens to be, our friends at Levine Ice Burner, that's who takes care of us. They can take care of you. And oh, by the way, they actually go to court. They do their work. You know, there's a lot of other ones you're looking at going, is that all they do? Is just TV commercials and TV and walking around and they don't do a lot of that because you know why? They're actually in court. They're actually working for you. They're actually sitting in a conference room, writing the contracts and doing certain things and actually not creating overhead, so to speak, when it comes to, dollars per hour. That's our friends at Levine Ice Burner. Brent Iceburner, he's on the staff or on the board of directors for Fisher House, Wisconsin. He's a military veteran as well. He brings the same tenacity and attention to detail to the courtroom. If you need somebody really, really good, somebody that's actually going to answer the phone, somebody you trust, Call them 608-621-2888, 608-621-2888. That's Levine Ice Burner. They actually answer the phone. They actually go to court. They actually build a relationship with you. You can actually talk to them. How about that? There's a novel idea when it comes to attorneys. 608-621-2888. Levine Ice Burner. That's the ones we use. You should too. We still got another 2 hours yet to go. So don't go anywhere. We got a whole lot more coming up. Our buddy Steve says, without a first-round draft choice, do you foresee the Packers diving into free agency defensively? There is talk of the Cowboys cutting Kenny Clark. If that happens, would you think that a guy like Goody would bring him back? Or is he too far past his prime? Actually, Kenny Clark did not have a bad season. And Kenny Clark is more of your he thrived when he wasn't a nose tackle, but he's more of a perennial nose tackle, depending on what you can get him for. And a guy that knows the system and knows the area, knows the locker room. Now, I don't know what the bad feelings are between the two because they had to get Micah. But if you add Kenny with Devontae Wyatt to a 3-4 front, and then you put Micah and whoever it is, whether it's Lucas Van Ness or anybody else on the opposite side, maybe things are a little bit different. You know, I would not say that's out of the realm of possibility. I think if I had to be a betting man, I'd say 60-40 to the no side, but 40% still is a lot to them for them to say, you know what, maybe we can get him at a reasonable price. You know, it wouldn't be a bad way to go. And I would not object to that because, you know, he had a decent season. It wasn't like he had a bad season down there. They just didn't have much of a defensive front. You know, it was kind of like they relied upon him to suddenly be the guy. And I don't think you could do that to Kenny because that's not Kenny's makeup. You know, he's good. He's a good down lineman, defensive player. But it wasn't until they went and got Quinnen Williams to go alongside him in a 3-4 because he was the nose tackle in the 3-4. Once they got Quinnen Williams, then they started getting more pressure on quarterbacks and they played a little bit better. Give Jerry Jones credit for that. I can't believe I'm saying it, but. It was not any kind of a defensive juggernaut up front, but Kenny Clark can be a good run stuffer and can be a guy that just kind of sucks up in the middle, along with Devontae Wyatt, who increased his play this year as well. Stay tuned. 2 hours down, 2 hours yet to go. Don't go anywhere. More of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Brewers pitchers and catchers due to report later this week for spring training, and there's going to be a lot of new faces after the club made another trade yesterday, sending Caleb Durbin and Andrew Monasterio to Boston for a pair of pitchers, Kyle Harrison and Shane Drohan, and an infielder. Throw in the Freddie Peralta trade that brought back pitcher Brandon Sprout, and Milwaukee's got quite a few new options for the rotation. G and Matt Arnold said they'll need all of them.
It's no longer just a 5-man rotation, and every guy's going to give you 200 innings anymore. It's a combination of your entire staff, and I think that was one of the most appealing parts of this trade is to be able to consolidate our infield depth, which we felt good about, and certainly good about it in the future as well. Is to consolidate that infield depth and turn it into the innings that you're talking about to cover a very long season because we know we're going to have injuries.
Again, Milwaukee's pitchers and catchers report for spring training this week. Turning to the Bucks, they saw their 3-game winning streak snap last night in Orlando. They'll face the Magic once again tomorrow night down in Orlando. As for Wisconsin, they're in Champaign to face number 8 Illinois. Badgers had won 7 of 8 before falling in overtime at Indiana over the weekend. Illinois, meanwhile, also lost in overtime at Michigan State. That snapped a 12-game winning streak. Tip tonight is at 7.
There's never been a better time to experience Pella in person and get all your questions answered.
Join us at the Neary Spring Home Improvement Show, February 13th through the 15th at Wisconsin State Fair Park. Book your in-home consultation at the show and receive a free Design Works rendering. Rest easy with Pella's 10-year limited warranty and get 0% interest for up to 48 months.
Set your free in-home consultation at PellaWI.com.
Well, the Packers still working to fill out their coaching staff. The team has several spots still open, including at quarterback's coach after Sean Mannion departed to be Philadelphia's offensive coordinator. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil. Print.
Hour number 3. Yeah. Welcome in. Bill Michaels Show. Tuesday edition. Sun is out. At least for the time being, at least where I'm at. I know we've got a mix of clouds throughout the state of Wisconsin. But at least it's warming up. And if you look at the forecast, it goes from the mid-30s to next week 40s. We got the possibility of rain late next week. Maybe it washes out what's left of the snow. And, look, it's the end of February, so we're still going to make the turn. You get into March and April, and it wouldn't be a bad way to go to see a little bit of early spring. I wouldn't mind that at all. But yeah, not a bad day today. Put it this way. When we got back, it was still only 20-something degrees, but we didn't have to run to the car and, hoping our lungs didn't freeze over the way it was when it was a wind chill of 43 below for a couple of days. So,
and not to frighten anyone, not to be... I know it's only Tuesday, but Bill, I have a free weekend, and I was thinking about it. I wonder if the weather's going to be nice enough. Am I going to be able to go fishing? Right. I'm looking at the forecast on the western side of the state. Saturday, sunny, high of 53.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
can you go fishing? But I would assume after the deep freeze we were in, the lakes are still frozen over.
Oh, lakes. I think I'm going to try to go fly fishing.
Oh, okay.
But I would imagine there'll be enough ice by the end of the week. I don't think that's. It's been a winter of really long cold stretches and then really warm stretches too. So I don't know about in 2 weeks if the ice will be good, but I'd imagine it would be fine this weekend. I think I'm going to try to go fly fishing though. Maybe I'll go visit Ernie.
Yeah, Ernie would be glad. Now Ernie's probably going to take a chair and a couple of scotch waterfront. Maybe he'll just sit there and critique you. But go hang out with Ernie.
Go hit some golf balls. It's like have a couple of scotches.
I'm telling you what, this is going to be weird because we don't have a show on Wednesday night. The end of the football season becomes so abrupt. I've got a Wednesday night free. We've got our weekend free. It's going to be weird. So just kind of hanging out and doing not much of anything. Speaking of hanging out, I am getting like all kinds of texts. And I told you this, you and I were communicating during the break. Kate must have put up, I see it, but I have not been able to really watch it or listen to it. But over on the Facebook page, the Instagram page, it's going to be up on TikTok eventually. The Waymo ride that we did, where it's driverless cars. And I got a little, rambunctious in the back seat, we'll say, in the jocularity, I guess. But apparently it's like blowing up. She just posted it, and it's well over, I think, 3,500 views already, and people are commenting and sharing it. But I don't know if it's funny or not. I haven't seen the final product because my buddy is like, oh my God, did you do all that? I'm like, I don't know what's in there. I did a lot of stuff. It was like 15, 20 minutes long, our ride in the Waymo from the Moscone Center, the convention center, down to Fisherman's Wharf. So I don't know what she chose. I don't know what made it. I couldn't tell you because I don't have time to really sit here and watch it. But apparently it's blowing up. So if you haven't seen it, a Waymo ride with a driverless car, and myself in the back seat, Mike Clemens next to me, Kate was in the front seat filming. So, a little weird, a little strange watching a car drive itself, and it's getting some mixed reactions. But my friends of mine are watching it and texting me going, oh my God, it's hilarious. So I haven't seen it. So I'll try to catch it later on the day, but it's up. It's on Instagram and Facebook, and it'll eventually be on TikTok. And on those particular platforms, just look up the Bill Michaels Show. And you can go there. You can like us. You can follow us. We appreciate it when you do. But more so than anything, the Waymo ride is up. So if you've never seen a driverless car before, so be it. There it is. A little weird. You took a Waymo, right? You loved it.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Because you guys, apparently you had a jam session in the back of that thing. You guys were like cranking up the stereo and just jamming out coming back, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yeah.
And we may have grabbed a couple of flutes of champagne on the way out the door because, we didn't want it to go to waste. It wasn't going to be any good the next day. So we just carried that out into the back seat of the Waymo. Not sure if that's legal. I don't know, but
okay.
Who's going to tell us? The driver?
You know who liked it? who I just saw and I got a text from. You know who liked it? Don Horn. Don Horn, our former Packer. Don Horn. We got a chance to see Don out there at the Cigars with the Stars on Thursday night. And Don, who had a real scare, I mean, almost passed away. He's coming back. He's doing well. He was good enough to come and join us at Cigars with the Stars. And him and Ickey Woods got along tremendously, but he liked it and said it was hilarious. And I just texted him. I said, thank you very much. But he actually, I can see on, I think it's the Facebook page, he actually liked it. So I don't know. I haven't seen it. Yet. So, and Sam says it looked like I should be hustling the shuffleboard court in Florida right now or Arizona. Yeah, between my leg and my back, I've been struggling a little bit. So although the walking in San Francisco did me a world of good, but I've been struggling a little bit. I look a little hunched over and old. Gotta fix that. So, which is one of the things I'm trying to do today. So, oh my goodness. And I'm just cracking up at all the comments. So thank you for watching it, but apparently it's doing well. So we'll see. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. By the way, Wisconsin Sports on the Go says, Bill, you made my day with the Waymo ride video. Oh my God, laughing my ass off. Okay, there you go. Well, we try to entertain a little bit. Todd says Holmgren was the last Packers coach to get a better record than the talent on the team, working with Super Bowl talented team. With smart coaching, McCarthy and LaFleur are the weak link. It's obnoxious that LaFleur can't rewatch all the games the last few seasons and see how uncreative, too much shotgun, not using the backs and the tight ends, or using more crossing routes, the bad vanilla offense over the use of number 8, and the worst shotgun runways is pathetic. LaFleur mostly low percentage vertical passing schemes is a losing game plan. The offensive coordinator has to go. LaFleur has to give up play calling, and the new offensive coordinator has to be able to do it. LaFleur has proven he can't correct himself or know exactly what to do. The draft needs to be all strong and physical players to catch up to Seattle. And that is from Todd. Todd, appreciate it. Over in the live stream, over in the cheap seats today. Yeah, the cheap seats, the stream itself is kind of weird today, so it's a little bit funky when it comes to putting everybody's comments up, but we're still getting them. Merlin says Love has more talent, but until or if Love can show that he can play under pressure and put the team on his shoulders, Darnold is better. You can't ignore the mental aspect of the game. I can go with that. What they need is space-eating nose tackles. Pair them with Wyatt. That makes a stout middle. Then you can stunt and twist and come off the edge with rushers. This, in turn, helps find the best matchup for Parsons. The linebackers must be the disruptors there. The coaches need to play more press man. Line of scrimmage pressure and jamming receivers going to take the Packers to a different level. This is why I think the D-line and secondary coach is the most critical pieces to this team's success. You can play a zone. You can play a soft zone as long as it's not so soft. You're giving up chunk plays of 5 and 6 yards per. You can do that. But when you play a zone, the only time you're playing continuous zone is if you're getting pressure up front and you're allowing your guys to leak up in the zone. If you're getting that on the consistent. If you're not, then you're at the mercy of whatever quarterback standing in the pocket at that point. Larry says the Packers are only going to go as far as their offensive line can take them. Anytime you have a great offensive line, you have a chance. Then definitely you fix the back end of the defense. Cornerback is the obvious weakness. Matt LaFleur's biggest weakness is clock management. He needs to do better.
On the O-line, can I add something to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know Goody spoke last week, and I completely forgot about this until yesterday just because of all the Super Bowl stuff. He was asked about Jordan Morgan and basically talked about how he's going to continue to cross-train. Mm-hmm. Did you hear that? I'll go find that cut. That doesn't make any sense to me. He's been a bad guard, and he should be the heir apparent to Rasheed Walker, and I don't understand why they'd continue to do anything else with him.
I get it because they love guys and their versatility. But at what point do you just say, this is our tackle, this is our guard, this is our center? I get it. Injuries are a part of the game. Offensive linemen go down. You want to make sure guys can fill in certain spots. You got to have those ideas. It's true. But if Jordan Morgan is indeed going to be and get a legitimate shot at your left tackle, then to me, he's your left tackle. He's your left tackle until he's not. and cross-training him and taking away any reps away from that left tackle position at this point, I think it does him a disservice. And you heard Mike Renner before. I mean, he was basically a left tackle in college. And he stated that's where he's most comfortable.
And you don't need to be a film expert. We watched him play.
Yes.
He was a bad guard. He was better at right tackle. And in a limited sample, judging him fairly, I thought he was fine at left tackle for really not playing it much or training there much.
If you get, now this is a big if because the Zach Tom injury looms large with that patellar tendon. If he's able to come back and be Zach Tom again, I think now the most stable portion of your offensive line is your right side. Anthony Belton's only going to get better. And that guy can move bodies. If you've seen him in a run game, lock somebody up, dude's got physicality, and he's a big, badass beast. Not great in the pass game. That'll come with time. Needs to get better footwork, quicker. And needs to have a little vision to see where the stunts are coming from because he wasn't great at picking them up. But he'll get better. I mean, it's his rookie season. But if you get Zach Tom back, I think, man, that's the strength right now of your offensive line. As to whether or not Sean Ryan's going to be your center or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I think that's where the strength of your offensive line comes from. Because it should be your left, but it's not right now because there's so much in flux. Banks was okay. He ascended at the end of the season. I think things got a little bit better for him, but the instability with Rasheed Walker, who got his ass handed to him in the Chicago game, they weren't able to, they were a weak link. They were a weak link. And the caller was right that this offensive line needs to be a lot better. They need to be better in the trenches. Look, if Jordan Love, we all know Jordan Love in the pocket when he's got time, one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. When he's under duress, he's not. We all know if Josh Jacobs coming back from the entire left leg injury that he sustained this year, whether it was the ankle, whether it was the knee or the extra bone in his thigh, whatever it happens to be, when he comes back and he's healthy and he's maybe getting a little bit of backup and he's not getting hit in the backfield continuously and he's actually getting a 2 to 3 yard start, he's a much better running back. The run game becomes prevalent. You're going to get a better pass blocker back eventually in Tucker Kraft. That'll help improve this offense. And you've got your Swiss Army knife back. So I think everything can be trending in a good direction if indeed they fix that offensive line and get stability there. I know they believe in cross-training. I understand it, and I understand why. But if they get stability there, that could be the thing that puts them over the top. And the defense then doesn't have to be top 3. They can be top 5, top 10, and still be very, very good and give you a legitimate shot to get to a Super Bowl. But they've got to win in the trenches, defensive and both offensive lines. 877-867-1670. Let's go to our buddy Tony in Sussex. Tony, how you doing today, man? What's up?
Tony just dropped off.
Tony.
That. Oh, but he might be calling back. Give me 1 second.
Tony. Hopefully Tony in Sussex is back. Buckshot Bobby says, what was your favorite Super Bowl commercial? None of them. Really, to be honest with you, the Budweiser commercial. The Budweiser commercial, every year, Budweiser knocks it out of the park. Their marketing team, short of the, who was the girl that decided to give the cans out and pretty much wreck their Bud Light business. But the Budweiser commercials have always killed. They've always been really, really good. And that goes all the way back to when you had the Clydesdales run to the edge of the cliff that was overlooking New York where the 2 lights were coming up from the Twin Towers. They've always been fantastic. You go back to the Frogs and Spuds McKenzie and, all that difference. They've always killed it. They've always had a terrific marketing team. But some of the other stuff, there was not much there that really made me go, wow, cool. I mean, I'm not a fan of State Farm to begin with, but I thought the John Bon Jovi State Farm commercial was actually kind of funny or kind of cool, I guess. But there was nothing there that made you go, oh my God, or wow, that was great, or looked at it in a comical light. It's very dry. It's very meh. And for the money you're spending, I don't think, other than Budweiser, I don't think anybody got their money's worth. I thought, to be honest with you, it was a really, unless you were just into really good defensive football, it was an unentertaining Super Bowl as a whole. Just my opinion. So.
We lost Tony from Sussex, but we picked up Stephen Cornell if you'd like to take Steve.
Let's go to Stephen Cornell. Steve, how the hell are you doing today, man? What's going on?
Yeah, pretty good, Bill. I got an amusing story to tell you about betting on the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So Yep. Back in 1970, I was assigned. In the first part of January, I wound up heading to airborne training in Fort Benning, Georgia, and as a prelude to going to Special Forces training. So when I got the airborne training, I right away got hooked up with anybody that was going to Special Forces training, so we were all quite nervous about what we were going to go through. Well, I hooked up with 6 guys, and not a one of them, of course, was from the Midwest. And so I said, well, the Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl hands down, and I bet money I didn't have on the Super Bowl. So here I owed a lot of money at the end of that Super Bowl.
Okay.
And so we went to Special Forces training, and through Special Forces training, 3 of the guys I had bet with washed out, so I never saw them again. But the other 3 I was hooked up with is I would come my paycheck would come and would fly right out of my hands. And here were these guys, my age, going up, drinking beer and chasing girls down at Fort Bragg, while I had to eat mess hall chow for the next 3 months. And that fixed me on the Vikings. I never wanted anything to do with them again.
There you go.
The fact that I won back my money 10 times over, and the next 3 Super Bowls they were in was great, but I'll hate the Vikings for the rest of my life.
Right. Well, there you go. I'm right there with you, and so are a lot of other Packers fans. Appreciate the phone call. Glad that, they made you eat mess hall chow, but glad you didn't lose your home over the Vikings, Something like that. That would have been a bad move.
You deserve to eat mess hall chow after betting on the Super Bowl.
Betting on the Vikings
to win the Super Bowl?
Come on, man. Yeah.
Which Super Bowl do you think he's talking about? What was it, Super Bowl IV, the first one they were in? He didn't sound that old, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he goes back. He's talking about 1970. So, yeah. 1970, I was at Super Bowl 3 or 4. So, yeah, Vikings back then, making him eat mess hall chow. He's still to this day got a chip on his shoulder. So there you go. 877. You know where you don't get mess hall chow? This is a great segue. This is why we're in radio. Great food. Not mess hall chow. Calderon Club. Best Italian food you're going to stick in your grill. If you're going to go out for Valentine's Day this weekend, if you haven't got a reservation already, you might be out. Maybe go on Friday night instead, or maybe you take a trip down there next weekend. Calderon Club. Best Italian food. Got a little bit of Sinatra and Dean Martin and just, the crooners in the background. That type of thing. Oh, they have those little candles on the table. You get Alex as your server down there. Oh, it's fantastic. You get the window seat. You watch the world go by. Classic spaghetti and meatballs. Maybe go crazy and you get yourself some chicken marsala or the spicy sausage penne, whatever. Award-winning meatball. I'm telling you. Glass of wine. That's Calderon Club, man. Great Italian restaurant. San Giorgio, a little more casual next door. Great pizzas, great food, just a different Italian fare, a little bit brighter and whiter, and still a great place to go. Head downtown, same thing. Get those bar top tables over there by the window, or just sit in the back and watch them make your food. It's great. Fantastic places. Calderon Club on one side, San Giorgio Pizzeria Napolitana on the other, 838 Old World 3rd Street, downtown Milwaukee.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Bill Michaels Show. Back at it. I want to say thanks to our friends at German Fest. Sort of thing, warm weather and festival season. July 25th, 26th, and 27th. Coming up this year at the Henry Meyer Festival Grounds in Milwaukee. It's a Milwaukee tradition, German Fest. Go to GermanFest.com for all the information. They are going to have, obviously, the bands, the music. They have military salute days. They just do so many cool things. Not to mention, let's be honest, we all love a big Stein, right? You throw the hat on or the lederhosen, and you throw the Stein in your hand. You're good to go. I mean, that's just tradition. And then you head out, later on, and you get to our friends at Oktoberfest out in the western portion. So you go from one side of the state to the other, and you're just enjoying German tradition all over the joint. Come on, we all love that. 25th, 26th, and 27th in Milwaukee. That's German Fest. For all the tickets and information, go to GermanFest.com. That is GermanFest.com. I got to give this kid a shout out real quick. This is Josh. Josh is listening to us, by the way, in study hall right now at Ashwaubenon High School. He says, do you think Matt LaFleur hires a new offensive coordinator and gives him the play calling? First of all, let me go through this. He then says, I don't know what was funnier, the eating that ass sign or the Waymo video. Was the guy at Haight-Ashbury really there, or was that stage? Josh, listening in study hall, Ashwaubenon High School, give us a shout out. Are they the Jaguars? I know their colors are green and yellow, but I think they're the Jaguars.
I thought they were the Panthers.
Are they? Because when I drive past the school, I see something. Maybe it's maybe it is the Panthers. I think they're the Jaguars.
I'm Googling.
I could be wrong.
You are correct.
I'm going to
Jaguars.
Oh, I am? Oh, well, stab in the dark. Who knew? But when I drive past it, I see the sign over by the football stadium. So there you go.
I just remember Ash Wabanami because my senior year, Menominee took him down in the first round of the playoffs. No big deal. I wasn't playing. Nothing to do with it. But
Grant is flexing. There you go.
A little bit.
Josh listening in Study Hall. So shout out to our friends listening to us right now in Study Hall over there at Ashwaubenon High School. And shout out to the Jaguars. Go Jaguars. Love it. Love it. So first of all, no. Matt LaFleur did not lose Adam Stenavich. I don't think at this point he's letting anybody go. There would have been a change by now. So Stenavich is not going to be calling the plays. Matt LaFleur is. So that answers that question. As far as what was funnier, well, they're both weird to me. And we did them, to do them. But the guy at Haight-Ashbury, Grant and I were driving up the street and we saw him. And we ended up circling back around because he was on the corner of Haight-Ashbury. So we saw him and we crossed the street and said, because Grant and I both got pictures underneath there and pictures with him. And we just said, hey, can we take a picture with you real quick? And he opened up a sign and there it was because we saw it when we drove past him. And I'm like, that's the most unique sign that I've seen. Is he homeless or not? He was high as hell, I'll tell you that. The dude was earthy smelling, we'll say. He wanted that $50 in my pocket. What did I give him? $10? I think I gave him $10. I'm like, here's $10. I think he was out there with the rest of the people that were, I want to say panhandling, but he was out there with them. So I gave him $10 for taking pictures with both Grant and I. And he saw that I had a 50 and he kept working me for the 50. And I wasn't going to give him the 50. I'm like, no, here's $10. $10 to stand here for 2 minutes and take a picture. No,
it's more than he would have got from me, which is $1.
Well,
That's what I had.
I had a 10 and a 50. That's all I had. So I'm like, the guy could use it. It's a good cause. He needs to go get more weed because he reeked.
That's facts.
We got Grant and I think got de facto high just from secondary contact, but he could barely when he's talking to you, could barely open his eyes. He was just like, dude, he could barely get his eyes open. You gonna give me that 50? I got that. I see that 50. 50's working. So. Real quick, because we got Stan Van Gundy. He's going to be giving us a call here in a couple of minutes. We're going to talk with him about Howard Moore and the movie, the documentary coming out, and I'm going to get his take on what happened last night, the fight. Let's go to Matt in Green Bay. Matt, how you doing, man? What's going on?
Hey, Bill. First off, I get goosebumps every time I hear Europe coming in from the breaks because when I was on Trident submarines, we had these things called DASOs, and we'd go out and we'd actually launch missiles with, and we just would drop cinder blocks instead of warheads.
Oh, wow.
But as far as the Super Bowl, I loved it. Yeah, everybody would get goosebumps because they would play that through the entire sub the day of, and it was just like we knew what was going on. Mm-hmm. It was great. But as far as the Super Bowl, I really liked the defensive showdown it was. In fact, early on, with the way New England was jumping the ball, I thought they were going to, give Sam Darnold some ghost looks or whatever, but eventually, the dark side took over, and I tell you what, they let loose. And then when you talk about Super Bowl ads, whatever I truly remember to me makes a good Super Bowl ad. And that one with the toilet bowl saying, "Take a look at me now. Hey, check your urine." And then all of a sudden it's Liquid IV. You're like, wow, right. I did not see that coming. That was a great ad.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it. I do remember that, as a matter of fact. I do remember that. There's been some really good ones. Probably more so that I forgot than I would remember. But I always remember the Budweiser ads are always powerful. Every year they start to come out early. And here's the other thing. I hate the fact that the Super Bowl ads come out early. They start them 2 weeks ahead of time. I hate it.
It's like Black Friday deals starting a week before. Then why even do the thing? It's not special anymore.
I hate it. I want to be surprised. It used to be destinational viewing. You had to stay in the room and watch the ads because you didn't want to miss anything. It wasn't like, they went to commercial break and you wanted to run to the bathroom. You wanted to stay there. And it's not that way anymore. It's like, whatever. It just, doesn't trip the trigger. There's been a shift in the mindset of what it should be for the Super Bowl. And maybe it's just younger marketing teams that just aren't understanding where it's at. Or maybe they're trying to reach just a completely different audience that, I don't know, doesn't have money or thinks that's funny. Weird sense of humor. I couldn't tell you. Let's do this. We're going to step out. We're going to take a quick break, come back. Stan Van Gundy is going to join us. Don't go anywhere. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Grab the dial and crank it up, baby, because Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee is spinning its Winning Hits collection. Over the next 3 months, you could win a share of over $1 million in prizes. On top of thousands in cash and reward play, you could win one of 3 new Ford vehicles in the grand finale drawings on March 27th. Just play with your rewards card to earn entries. Press play on the Winning Hits collection, only at Potawatomi. More info online. Must be 21 and a rewards member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome into everybody all throughout the great state of Wisconsin. We certainly appreciate you being here all throughout the Michael Sports Talk Network. From Menominee, Marinette, Madison, Wisconsin, Platteville, Tomahawk, Marshfield, Eau Claire, La Crosse, everywhere. I know I'm leaving people out. I apologize. And our massive affiliate in Green Bay, television show in Milwaukee. Thanks to everybody for taking a listen to us. Welcome back to the program. And we talked a little bit last week, 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, pardon me, 2 weeks ago, about the documentary that is coming out. And we all know A Road at Night. It's a powerful documentary. It talks about the UW basketball player and assistant coach, Howard Moore, and what happened. And there's many people that make an appearance in this particular documentary and or movie, if you want to call it that. And one of the gentlemen that does is a guy that former UW coach, NBA head coach, NBA analyst, been around a long time, knows the situation closely. Stan Van Gundy now joining us on the hotline. Stan, how you doing?
I'm good, Bill. How are you?
We're doing extremely well. I guess when you saw all this come together, how does it hit you?
Well, look, it's a very powerful and emotional documentary. Obviously, Howard Moore, truly one of the best people that I've ever known. I have said many times that in all my years around sports, which has been a long time since my dad coached, he's the best teammate I ever saw. Just always concerned with everybody else on his team. And for this to happen to him and his family, his wife passed away in the accident. His daughter passed away. Obviously, Howard's got issues. I mean, it's just very, very difficult. But it's also, I think, it's powerful in the sense that it's a triumph of the human spirit. Howard has not given up. He's still fighting from that wheelchair, still gets excited to see people. His parents have been incredible, and the guys who were his teammates at the University of Wisconsin have thrown their support behind him. So I guess as there is in every tragedy, there's still some silver linings.
It is a 73-minute documentary, and it tells the story of obviously that night, but the perseverance throughout. And you talk about he still gets excited to see, former players and coaches and people and such. And so in that sense, when you get a chance to be a part of this and you get a chance to see him, what does that mean to you to see everything he's gone through? He had an ascension as an assistant coach. He was really tracking in the right direction. This happens, like you mentioned, takes his wife, takes his daughter, his son pulls him out of a fiery crash. Then he tries to work himself back. He has a heart attack, and still he at times has this smile on his face where he's just happy to see people.
Yeah, look, I mean, one of Howard's pastors in the film says, that there are exceptional people, and then there's Howard Moore, and I would tend to agree with that. I mean, one of the things that comes up in the film is Howard telling his pastors that they all needed to pray for the family of the woman who hit them. I mean, that's Howard Moore. I mean, his thoughts are always with other people. And he's just everybody that Howard met, he touched. People on campus, his teammates, his coaches, everybody he coached. I mean, I was there the day after the accident at the hospital at the University of Michigan, and the number of people who came through in the next few days was unbelievable. I mean, people who had played against him, coaches from other programs, just Howard touched so many people with his positive outlook on life that it was just phenomenal. And those people are all coming around to support him. And then the strength of he and his parents and his son, Jarrell, who has spoken on the court at the Kohl Center since then. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me that people are able to show that kind of strength in the face of an incredible tragedy.
The premiere for the movie opens up 2 nights from now, as a matter of fact. It comes out on Thursday night, then officially opens to theaters in the Marcus Theaters on the 13th all the way through the 19th. Let me ask you this. Take me back to that. Now, you talked about the amount of people that came to see him. On one hand, you're jubilant that he's hanging on, he's alive. His son Jarrell was able to pull him out of the fire. It's got to be just this devastating emotion to know that this guy was just traveling with his family, and then he lost his wife and daughter. I mean, it's got to be this just tumultuous realm of emotions when you're standing there in the hospital knowing that 2 other people had passed.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I had actually gotten to know his wife, Jen, and his family better after Howard had graduated and gone into coaching. I was coaching in Detroit at the time. And so when they would come down to see Jen's family, we would always see them. So I'd had the kids out on a boat on my lake, and Jen and Howard had gone to a concert the summer before with my wife and I for my birthday. And so just unbelievable people that Jen was just like Howard. I mean, their life was serving other people. And so to have that happen, the emotions in the hospital, to watch Howard lying there in pain with burns, but having lost his wife and daughter was, it was. I mean, I'm thinking of it now, and it was just really, really difficult. And the strongest person in the room was, I don't know, either Howard or his son or his mom. The 3 of them just stayed strong for everybody, which still blows me away.
What do you say to Howard the first time you get a chance to talk to him? I mean, you don't have to tell me. You can keep that private between you two. But I'm just thinking, I've been through tragic events, and there's always that difficulty to find the words to express how you're feeling or what it is you specifically want to say. How did you come up with words?
I really didn't. The only thing I said to him is, I love you. And look, this guy, he's a guy who takes care of everybody. I mean, when I was coaching in the NBA and, you'd go through a tough stretch, a losing streak, whatever, I would always get a text from Howard, get a text like, hey, hang in there, coach, everything's going to be okay. And, you would hear from him years later in times like that. And I know if he was doing that with me, he certainly was doing it with all of his teammates, the guys who had played for him. He is just always has his mind on other people and what he can do to serve them. And I truly love that guy. And I think his teammates, the way they have acted since then in the raising of money that come in to visit him, Rashard Griffith sees him virtually every day and helps them move him around. I mean, the devotion people have shown to Howard is because of the devotion that Howard and his wife showed to everyone else.
It is a powerful story. It's called A Road at Night, a powerful documentary, and obviously kind of showing you the life of Howard Moore and then the tragedy that happened. Coach, I want to ask you just a little bit of NBA stuff before I let you go, but I do want to remind people that the documentary premieres in a couple of nights on Thursday night, comes out fully in the Marcus Theaters over the weekend, and get out and see it. It is a powerful, powerful, powerful documentary. I wanted to ask you about everything floating around the NBA about Giannis, and Giannis saying here in our own backyard, I want to stay and they don't know me. In the meantime, you've got all the national talking heads saying where he should be traded and how he should be traded and when he should be traded. Give me your thoughts on everything that's circulated around the Milwaukee Bucks last season in this.
Well, look, I think it's, from Giannis' standpoint, pretty simple. I believe what he's saying. He loves Milwaukee. He wants to be in Milwaukee, but he wants a chance to contend. And I think that's the challenge for John Horst and the Milwaukee front office. Can they, with what they have for assets now, can they put a roster around Giannis that gives him a chance to contend in Milwaukee? Can they do that? If they can, I think Giannis wants to be there, and all power to him. I certainly, as someone who observes the league, love to see the stars stay in one city for a long time. When I think of the Milwaukee Bucks, I think of Giannis Antetokounmpo, so I want him there. But if they can't, if they truly feel like we're just sort of stuck, then they need to get a huge haul for Giannis, get him to a place where he can contend and, you know, bring in the pieces to start a rebuild. I think that's going to be a difficult decision. Certainly parting with a guy like Giannis would be very difficult. And John Horst has a tough offseason ahead of him.
I know they made some moves. Obviously, Damian Lillard just didn't work out. It didn't fit. In this particular case, and I've said this all along, I understand players want to win. I understand players want great players around them. I said this with Aaron Rodgers, and I say this with Giannis. How do you sign this amount of money? And I don't begrudge you the money because you've earned it, but you can't take all the money and say, I want great players around me too, and do anything and everything you possibly can. Bring in my brother, bring in my family, do everything. But, oh, by the way, if we don't win, I want out. I find that very disingenuous. As a coach that's had to deal with players and you're trying to put pieces around them, how do you deal with something like that?
Well, it is difficult. Look, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, when a guy's taken up that much of your cap space, it makes it very, very difficult to put players around them, particularly when you're in a smaller market like Milwaukee and your local TV money isn't going to be what it is in LA or New York, let's say. It makes it tough to be going deep into the luxury tax and everything. And so you are a little bit limited. The question I had goes all the way back. I mean, you know, they won the title and in my mind never even really got a chance to defend it with guys hurt. And then Giannis was hurt in that first round loss to Miami, and they fired Mike Budenholzer, and everything has gone downhill since then. I think that they tried so hard to keep things going through all the injuries that they made it actually tougher on themselves. I don't begrudge them trying. You have a guy like Giannis, you want to try to win every year. But I think they'd give anything, quite honestly, if they could just have back the core they had at the time they won the championship. I think they'd give anything to have that back and to have hung on to that. But that's water under the bridge now, and where do you go from here? It's going to be a tough choice, you know, and I would hate to have to see the Milwaukee Bucks take a step back right now. But the reality is in the NBA, everybody has to rebuild at some point. There's no 20-year dynasties, or at least since San Antonio was able to keep it going. There isn't. So it's going to come sooner or later.
Coach, great stuff. It is called A Road at Night, a powerful documentary about Howard Moore, the Wisconsin basketball player, coach. You're in it. Numerous other players and such are in it. Matt LePay is going to do some of the stuff coming up on Thursday night with the panel that's going to be there for the discussion. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your thoughts, and some of your difficult words at that particular time. I appreciate you so much, and we'll get you back on at some point down the road, okay?
That sounds great. And thanks for helping us promote this.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the proceeds go to Howard and his family. And so you not only see a powerful movie, but you help a great person and a great family.
There you go. Coach, appreciate it, pal. Thanks.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Stan Van Gundy joining us for a couple of minutes on the hotline. Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a break. We'll come back, wrap up this hour. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome. A couple of minutes before we get to the top of the hour, I am going to duck out. Got an appointment that I need to get to. So Grant is going to take you the rest of the way for the last hour of the program. Great stuff from Stan Van Gundy, by the way. Just a different angle from the discussion we had a week ago, or a little over a week ago for that matter. But really, really good stuff. And I thought to be able to take you inside the hospital room and get into that discussion, that was pretty powerful stuff. And he has, look, he basically said what a lot of people have thought out loud is, yeah, you want to keep Giannis. Yes, you want to see him stay here, but at some point you may have to say, you got to rebuild this thing and you got to get the haul, as he said, the haul for Giannis. So we'll wait and see if that happens in this offseason or not. But as he's taking, because I said, look, if you're going to get people that are going to take the Supermax all the time, and it's taken a large chunk. I said the same thing when Aaron Rodgers was ready to get his contract. I said, look, here's the checkbook. Write out what you want. But remember, what you take is what we don't have for other guys. And that's fair. You've got more than generational wealth. If you want us to put some pieces around you, we need additional dollars. We're up against it. And we don't really have the draft choices because we mortgaged our future for all of this. Yes, you want to go back and rewrite history maybe, but here's where we're at. Can you be that guy? Do you want to be that guy? Or do you want to go get a Supermax and go somewhere else? We'll wait and see what actually happens there. But you'd like to say that at least the next 3 years, Giannis is in Milwaukee and there's a championship run. One more. Granted that we may be asking too much considering it's been since 1971 that they won one prior to that. So maybe we're getting a little greedy, but one more. You'd like to be able to see them, grab one more and build the legacy here in Milwaukee. That's just beyond that single attempt, so to speak. So we'll wait and see. But that being said, we got a lot, coming up, obviously, the next hour. Continue with the discussion regarding everything from the NFL, the Packers, the Brewers, Mike Renner from CBS Sports, all of that stuff upcoming. And tomorrow on the program as well, we're going to have additional thoughts from some of the interviews that we had coming out of last week, which I thought were rather pertinent regarding the Packers. I thought there was some really interesting stuff there as well. Also, a reminder, if you have not checked out Instagram and Facebook, it's going to be on TikTok eventually as well. But the Waymo ride, apparently that's getting a lot of run. It just went up a little while ago, and it's already got over 4,100 views, and people are sharing the crap out of it. But yeah, it's a driver. For those that don't know, it's a driverless car. It's basically a taxi cab without a driver. It's like an Uber without a driver. And so it was our opportunity to take one for the first time, and my opportunity to take one for the first time. And the whole thing was filmed, caught on film. So that's pretty good too. So there you go. All right, going to take a break. We're going to come back. Stay tuned. A whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. Grant Bill's taking you the rest of the way. And there you have it. So let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a break. We're going to come back. For those on the live stream, we're going to kill it. But back at it again tomorrow. Don't forget. Until then, Grant's got you. We'll be back right after this.